mobilize for the next 5 years. Are you excited?
Yeah, I guess so. I guess we're super excited right now.
All right.
Nicely
So,
done, Mary. Indeed, man. We've been waiting for today for quite a while.
yeah, this one has been quite a difficult campaign, and so we everybody is like fingers crossed. We don't know what we are waiting for. We don't know what the future is going to hold. So I'm going to quickly ask you both for your short introductions, which is generally very hard to give when you're doing a lot of things. So Ben, can we have yours?
You should let the young ones go first. My name is Ben Benakwe. I teach as an occupation, and I support a lot of young people in the community in developing, sharpening, and becoming awesome at their public speaking skills and leadership skills as well. And I'm excited about these elections because they offer us an opportunity to put forward a bunch of ideas about where we want the province to go. And it's a great time to see volunteers get out there, do their thing, and pull up a bunch of support. And in a little over an hour, or perhaps just under an hour, we will find out how things went.
Thank you so much, Ben. I see two new faces. I'm so happy to have you both in the studio today. Um, is it? I can't really read the names too well. Just give me a second. Let me make the screen a little bigger for my eyes. Okay, so we have Indra. Hi, Indraneel.
Hello, how are you? Hello. Mary.
Welcome to our panel today. This is going to be
Yeah,
an
sure.
exciting evening.
Yes,
And
yes. I told T that I will join exactly at the time you said. And after that, I'll finish my, last moment, the last push for about 45 minutes and come back. And then we'll take you to 5 campaign offices, one of them remotely and 5 physically.
wow, that's
Yeah,
awesome.
yes.
Thank you
And
for that amazing
of,
plan. That's a
of
that's a
course.
great plan. She already spoke to me about it.
Excellent, excellent. So I will say by just momentarily. So you have already introduced me. I'll come back in about 45 minutes and one after the. I'll tell you the order also. First and foremost, I'll take you to Edmonton Ellerslie, and
Mm-hmm.
then I will take you to where the candidate there is Ranjit Bhatt, and it's very big race and against Rod Loyola of NDP. And then I'll take you to at Edmonton Rutherford, where there is Lane Larson from UCP and Miss Callahoo from the NDP. And then after that, we'll go to Edmonton South, which is Joseph Angeles, and NDP is Miss Hoyle, yes. And then we will go to LCCMedia's office, which and against that is which is UCP candidate obviously, and against that is Nathan IP. And remotely will take you to Calgary Falcon Ridge, where there is a
Oh, looks like we lost him.
Looks like he's off already.
Yeah. I think he had a very quick time schedule, so he had to do something. I think he's a UCP spokesperson here today. Um, so Indraneel, are you back or are you going to go again or can you hear me, Indraneel? Okay. Okay, let's move on. And wherever he comes back, he can speak to us. So I have in the studio Reach. Reach. That's all I can see. Maybe you can tell us your name and give us a small introduction.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. Are you guys
Yeah.
hearing me?
Yeah.
Loud
Quite good.
Okay,
and clear, bro.
my name is Ized.
Okay.
So, but I go by the screen name Rich Ized.
I
So,
see. Wow.
yeah, yeah. So, I've um, I've been a keen follower of politics in Alberta for a while. but the stake has not been this high. You know,
Mm.
uh, um, the standard this time around, the awareness, the competition is very high. So a lot of people came outside to vote, unlike
Yes.
before. So you can see by the number of votes that came out, you know, early voters, right? So we beat the last turnout in 2019, so by 50K plus. So that's interesting. So the details, it will be close, but I just hope that um, my candidate or my party wins. You know, at the end of the day, what's important is the growth and development of our province. And yeah, as I look at it for now, but I just
So,
hope
which
that
party are you representing?
the NDP.
All right. I guess we have a NDP heavy panel today. Okay. All right. I will move on to Tyson. Hi, Tyson. Welcome
Hey,
to
Mary.
our panel today.
Yeah, thank you for
And
inviting me, everyone.
I'm going to ignore what T introduced you as. And so I'm going to ask you to introduce yourself.
What did she introduce me as? Okay. Hi, my name's Tyson. I am currently volunteering for some NDP campaigns. I do some political consulting with some Indigenous nations as well as local municipal candidates. And then for my actual day job, I work as a quality control research technologist. So I'm very good with numbers, statistics, and then I have a flair for the politics in my free time. So thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, we need people with young blood in politics. We really do. Yeah, I just also realized that our two big leaders, the UCP and NDP, both are similar age groups. We really need some young blood, man.
Yeah, you could say that. I think I'm probably older than you think I am. So, but definitely, the younger population is traditionally not very motivated to vote. They don't come out in large
Yeah.
numbers, and it's a shame to see that. I agree.
Yeah, but both my kids voted, and one is 21, one is 24. So I'm really proud parent of two young people who are serious about our province.
That's really great that they're engaged.
Yeah, and seriously engaged. They told me whom to vote for. So let me just go back to Ben. As a lecturer, what are the kind of things that you would like to see? There's a child there. Whoever's child is it, can you just mute your microphone?
Isaac, can you mute your micro? Yeah, that's all right.
Thank you. So, so Ben, could you give us some idea of what you're expecting today? What is the kind of expectation that you have after this election?
Well, like most people, I'm looking for a number of things. Number one, turnout by age group. Those demographics are important. I want to see if young people are as engaged as we always think they should be, but the results never bear that out. We want to see if that turnout is good and strong. I want to see, the day voting itself. I want to know how many people overall showed up. The the early vote was very promising, but we also know that the number of people eligible to vote has gone up. And I think Tyson would confirm whether proportionally we have the same proportion of people voting as compared to the overall number of people eligible to vote, or whether the number has gone up significantly and by how much. I think it's gone up probably just only slightly because we also had an increase in the number of people who are eligible to vote. But I'm looking for interest. I'm looking for a lot more discussion and debate going forward, and that is what excites me about the process. Isaac talked earlier about the level of competition and people getting really into it. I've seen a lot of younger people involved in volunteering, involved in campaigning, and being part of the process, and across the board. And that for me is a very good thing. Now I want to know whether they actually showed up to vote or not in good numbers.
All
Yeah,
right.
I'd like to build on that. I think so. What I'd like to, what Ben's saying, absolutely, the population has increased here in Alberta, but I'd also like to highlight that accessibility to vote, especially this past this election, it was very accessible, very easy to vote. You had a whole week to go vote, even had a weekend day, in out real quick. Even new rules around going to the returning office during the month, you could go vote pretty easily. So I'd also say that the advanced turnout, although it's quite high, I think that not only the population has gone up, but it's just been easier to vote this time around.
Yeah, you all spoke about what you see. I'm looking for what you expect. What do you want to see? What do you want to see, Tyson? What do you see? What do you want to see in Alberta? What are the changes
What
that
do
you
I want to see?
Yeah.
Let's see. I mean, ultimately, I would love to see a government that governs in the interests of Canada, or sorry, of Alberta. I mean, I don't really care what color that government is, but whoever forms government, that they be the one that they govern in the interest of Alberta. And I would say that because this election has been so close, that whichever party forms government tonight, they will be very conscious of everything that we've been talking about this election because it's so close, and they know that next cycle it's not going to be. They could lose everything if they don't listen to the other side.
Thank you for that. Very good perspective. IZ, right? I just want to make sure that I'm pronouncing it right. So IZ. I just wanted to kind of give you the opportunity to see what kind of changes you've seen from last election to this one, and what are the kind of things you envisage based on all the stuff that has been happening over the last 2 months. Oh, no, sorry. Please unmute yourself.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
So it's been very challenging. Like it's been very the competition between the NDP and the UCP has been neck to neck, right?
Yeah.
So that kind of created a lot of division, right? Created a division, like both parties, the quest to get votes, get people to come outside to vote, right? So that kind of made a lot of eligible voters kind of interested in coming out to vote, because we've been hearing, come outside and vote, come outside and vote, come outside and vote, right? And people are actually listening, and they're kind of interested, right? To make sure they come outside to elect politicians that they want. But going forward, what I want to see is, politicians, living up to their promises, like doing the things like what we've been asking for, like the healthcare affordability, healthcare. So we can't emphasize that enough because of the wait times. If you're trying to get to see a doctor, the wait times, a lot of bottlenecks, problems getting accreditation here and there. Those are things, ultimately, whoever forms the government, they have to listen and make sure they work on these things, right? And the cost of living keeps going up, the inflation keeps going up, like salaries are not meeting up with the high cost of living. So politicians need to understand that what people are going through is not enough to just You want to do this, you want to do that, you want to do this. At the end of the day, you deviate from your promises. We don't want to see that anymore. Like we want to see, you know, the things that really matters to the people, like jobs, jobs creation, for instance, right? People need jobs, employment needs to, unemployment needs to go down, more people having jobs, it's not enough to just talk and talk. At the end of the day, these promises, they are not fulfilled, because at the end of
Yeah.
the day, people get tired, like, oh, they are all the same.
Yeah,
It doesn't
exactly.
matter, people get tired. But now, whoever forms the government, they have to like listen to the other side, because it doesn't matter whether it's blue, whether it's orange. At the end of the day, it's about the province, it's about the people, right? So they have to listen to what the people are yearning for, right? They have to, because at the end of the day, it's about the people. You're going there to serve the people, right? So
Exactly.
I would like situation, whoever forms the government tonight, you know, the things abettors be clamoring for, you know, they have to take they have to listen very carefully to make sure that these things, you know, becomes reality. Because at the end of the day, if those things are not done, well, they can lose next time, right? It can be flipped, because it's so competitive, it's so close, right? There's NDP's UCP is very close. So they have to do what the things the promise has to be kept, so that it doesn't look like they are just talking, they are all the same, right? So
Exactly.
obviously I voted NDP, but the reasons I go with the NDP, because I feel the listen is more about the people rather than the few privileged ones, So I want to see, politicians, doing the things that brought them in, not just talk, 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 and yeah,
Perfect. Thank you so much for that.
yeah.
That's pretty much echoing what everybody else here is thinking. Um, of course, there are many reasons why people came out and voted, and I don't know whether just because everybody was telling please come out and vote, that's why they voted. Accessibility is one of the reasons, and the second reason is that the whole week, there was an opportunity for people to vote pre-election vote, and then also the fact that this time it was the tightest race ever, because both people were talking similar things and we could not really figure like what side we were on. It was so weird. And plus, like when two women start haggling, then it becomes a really very messy place. So what I saw when they were on the leaders debate was two women just haggling. You are doing this, I'm doing this. Excuse me, we don't want all this. What we want to see is what are you going to do for Alberta? What she is doing is not the problem. What are you going to do? So, did you hear clearly what these two leaders were actually saying? Like, to me, it wasn't clear. It was very garbled. So, Ben, I'm going to ask you, could you sift through all that rubbish and tell me what are the two leaders trying to tell us and what are they going to do for Alberta?
Well, to be honest, I wouldn't call it rubbish. I mean, this is part of the political process. There is room for very feisty debate. There's room for candidates to be forced to answer questions about their record.
I do agree.
There is room for candidates to present their visions as well. It's
Exactly.
there's room for a lot of things. Now, it's not just an exercise in tell us your vision. It's also an exercise in you have had the opportunity. What did you do with it? So there is some element of accountability, there's some
Yes.
element of responsibility, and then there's some element of okay, based on this track record, Do you have what it takes to deliver for us? Personally, I enjoyed it. I loved it. Of course, it depends on what you expected going in. If what you wanted was to know what plans the parties had, there was some of that, maybe not too much. But that is not the only avenue to get that kind of information. That information is also available on the party websites. It's
Yeah.
available, in a lot of the statements the
No,
parties have
no, I don't
issued.
defend anybody. Don't. That's not what we're
No,
here
I'm not
for.
saying that. I'm saying we should condition ourselves
No,
to
see, we can all
expect.
read. There are people who don't read. So they come to these debates, right? So they're not interested in reading. What they're interested is in two mature individuals presenting what they can best do. And what we saw there wasn't that. They were just pointing a finger at each other, and that wasn't very fair because to me,
I
that's not a
loved
very
it.
Canadian way of,
I mean,
like,
come on. It cannot just be serious 24/7. You got to know how to give, how to jab, how to poke the other person, how to be serious, how to be humorous. It's an all-in-one package.
all right.
Mary,
I
this
guess you
this is a
enjoyed it.
package. Absolutely.
I was quite disappointed. Anyway, that's my perspective. Um, but yeah, thank you for that. That's a totally different perspective. I love hearing that. What I wanted to know is what would you like the new leader to tackle that wasn't tackled over the last 4 years? Can Izzy please help me with this?
Yeah. You see, during COVID, right? The for me, I can't stress healthcare enough. I can't stress it enough. COVID has exposed the weaknesses we have in our healthcare systems,
Yes.
across the world and across Canada. The weaknesses we have, COVID exposed, those weaknesses, right? So, and during Jesse Kenny's time as a premier, we had budget cuts for healthcare. We had front staff or frontline workers losing their jobs.
Yeah.
That was scary to me.
Yes.
I felt it wasn't the right time to start doing that,
I agree.
right? So
Mhm.
because you needed more staff, you needed more people
Yeah.
to do the job, right? So
Yes.
it was really scary for me when I saw that they were cutting here and there. We needed more doctors, we needed more staff, nurses, It
And
was
so many
doing
doctors left the province during
and
that
so
time.
many, yeah, that was very scary. That was one of the reasons I made up my mind. I said, no, no, no. I can't trust these people with my healthcare.
Mhm.
I have to look towards an alternative, right? So we need more, funding in the healthcare sector. We need, less bureaucracy in accreditation of foreign trained um, personnel in Canada, so
Right.
that when they migrate from Ukraine, from Russia, from India, from Nigeria, from Australia, wherever, it less bottleneck bureaucracy in them transferring here, start working,
Awesome.
right?
Very true. Yeah.
Irrespective of whether you are UCP, NDP, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
That needs to be looked into, because the wait times when you go there to see a doctor, or when you're trying to get a family doctor, is appalling.
Yeah.
That shouldn't
Very
be in
true.
Canada. That shouldn't be in Canada by any standard. That's unacceptable. You
Yeah.
go for an emergency, you're sick, you're dying, you wait 10 hours, you wait 12 hours to see a doctor. That's scary. That's
And
That's
obviously, you
scary.
would like to see that change. So,
I would like to see that, whoever forms the government, they should seriously consider looking into that, because a healthy workforce, right, leads to more productivity. You can't be talking about the economy when your people, your workers, or your citizens, they are sick, or they can't have access to Medicare facilities. So healthcare, number one for me. So I want them, whoever forms the government, should, take, there should be a peer review, like from other countries, like Scandinavian countries, like Switzerland, for instance, and those Scandinavian countries, they have publicly funded healthcare too, right?
mhm.
So we can learn also from them, or try to replicate what they do, so that at the end of the day we have similar model. Because
Isaac,
because
sorry to interrupt you here. We are losing Tyson in 10 minutes. We've got Isaac for the rest of the night. Let's
Okay.
let's dig
So,
into Tyson. He's also an historian, if you don't know. He's been with NDP since the beginning of NDP. He knows too many things. You need to tap into Tyson. He knows a lot. That's just what I'm saying. He's an in-depth. I'm sorry, Isaac, but
yeah, it's okay.
Sorry.
he's
uh,
working as
like
a
there is,
scrutineer.
everybody should stick to the 2-minute timeline. Otherwise, it's not going to be possible to have this conversation properly with fairness to everybody. So let's move on to Tyson. And Tyson, what do you think, besides healthcare, what are the other things that you think we need serious change from the last 4 years of government?
Serious change. Healthcare, obviously, as Reach was talking about, very important. Education, way up there. I know Ben, he lives in the Southwest Edmonton. He's seen those schools, how they are crowded, how there are literal lotteries to get people into these schools. And it's heartbreaking to see that the public system is bursting at the seams, so to speak, in such a way like that. So whoever comes to power has to do something about education. No, full stop.
And there's been some curriculum change and stuff.
we've
What do you think about that?
The curriculum. So you have to give at least Smith some slack. She has paused the curriculum, or at least slowed down its implementation. So the content of it, I can't really comment on. I'm not really a teacher, but I do understand that one of the biggest criticisms was the way the previous government, the Kennedy government, kind of just rammed it down the throats of teachers and expected them to implement it right away. That's kind of that's my opinion. There is that it should be slowed down. It should be looked at. I'm sure there's good stuff in there. I'm sure there's also some pretty bad stuff in there, and just slowing down and taking a look at it with the next government instead of ramming it down an already stressed education system, right? And I'm very certain that Ben can speak far more in detail about these particular issues than I can.
Besides education,
aside
is
from
there
education,
anything else you see, Tyson?
You know what? The Calgary Arena. I think that the whole Calgary Arena investment thing will probably be a pivotal. We look back on it and go, yeah, maybe Smith was right, maybe or not. But even Otley is more or less endorsed this arena and said we'll match it in Edmonton. But yeah, I would say that arena is a huge portion, especially because this election is so reliant on who Calgary decides should be our next governing party. So
interesting. And historically, when do you see Alberta has done well? Is it under UCP leadership or NDP leadership?
Extremely hard to say, since it's only been the PCs straight for 40 years, right? You had a small blip in time where the NDP governed, and arguably during, they got dealt bad cards, right? And also arguably the last government got dealt bad cards. I personally will reserve my judgment, because you had a 40-year like a rule of a party that you could only they were the only ones responsible, and then you had this back and forth between two other parties who both of them got dealt fairly bad hands with respect to oil prices, a global crisis. So I'm not going to particularly comment on that one. But please give Ben some time here. I've clearly run into my 2 minutes.
All right. Okay. Thank you so much, Tyson. I just wanted to give you time because you're going to take our leave. Thank you so much.
Yeah, sorry.
For joining us and for giving your, very wonderful opinions.
I
really
would love to stay on during the count and chat with you guys all night, but I have to like watch the ballots actually get count.
All right. Okay. So moving on to Ben. You are a lecturer. You've been in education for a while. So I just wanted to know your perspective on, this curriculum change and all those educational policies where we have a lot of students from different places, and our own students don't get so many opportunities, stuff like that. So what would you like to say about?
Well, thank you very much. Did you say our own students do not get opportunities? I don't think you meant it like that. But yes, the cost of education is a significant issue under this government. The cost of education, especially at post-secondary, has significantly gone up.
Yes.
And when you're a student experiencing increased costs, for your post-secondary education, and there are other provinces which offer a cheaper option, you would want to consider that. Who wants a bigger loan to pay off at the end of their schooling? Probably nobody. And so that is something that from the policy end is worth thinking about, especially when you have a government eager to throw money at a war room versus supporting students in education, which we know has a very direct impact on long-term viability. And so, on the education side, at the post-secondary, that's a big issue. At the lower level, obviously, the rollout of the new curriculum was very poor. The quality of the curriculum was poor. We all know good chunks of the curriculum were just copied from Wikipedia and others from some red states in America. I mean, it's just a really poor job, especially given the foundation that the government inherited. So much so that, I believe a couple of territories stopped using the Alberta curriculum and instead moved to use the British Columbia curriculum. So, we've had some issues there that need addressing. And I think that young people have spoken, parents have spoken, the community has spoken, and whichever government takes over knows there is a good chunk of work that needs to be done in that field. So to recap, at the post-secondary level, that is the cost, the increasing cost, about way above average, way above inflation cost. That is significant. That's affecting a lot of people, and it's going to affect our competitiveness going forward. And below that level, the quality of that curriculum, we need to thoroughly revamp that curriculum so that it addresses our needs going forward, and perhaps get Yukon and Northwest Territories to probably start using our better curriculum one more time.
Thank you so much, Ben.
Mary, please, if I just may jump in, we have in comments here. If truth were to be told, our panelists right now are favorable to the Alberta NDP party, and we are a non-partisan media company. So can I please ask that you read these comments so as to give the other side an opportunity to respond to some of the things your panelists are saying, Mary? I'm thinking this is a UCP person just trying to give us some reaction based on what we are talking about education. If I may, I'm sorry to have jumped in.
Okay, let me read this out. At the post-secondary level, courses that are not translating to good jobs upon graduation need to be scrapped. gender studies, and the likes. Okay, I don't know. The war room is measly 30 million, and it is used to defend our oil industry, which brings in the revenues used to fund the education system. I support Catholic charter and non-public school options. Our public school system has been hijacked by the leftists and are being used to indoctrinate kids. I'm not sure what indoctrination is happening, but it's very interesting to get different perspectives for sure. Does Ben like to respond to that?
Well, I mean, the viewer talked about Catholic education. I mean, Catholic education is public education, and I personally, my kids are in Catholic schools, and I support public education, and I think it's a great thing. I like the fact that we have opportunities for our students to have these options, and so I think that that is a wonderful option. I mean, when the RA talks about courses not translating to good jobs, I mean, I don't know which particular courses are not translating into good jobs, because if we only prepare students for an economy that is ready now, we are very mindful of very changing economic conditions. And we don't just train people for our economy, we train people for a bigger economy. In fact, when I challenge my students, I remind them that the whole point of education is to train them so they would fit so many different circumstances and scenarios now and into the future. When I train a student to become a great accountant or an economist, I'm not just looking at that person starting and ending their life in that particular field. In today's environment, I expect people to learn deep into their future and throughout their careers. It's just a step. So, unless they want to list the set of courses that they think are worthwhile and the set of courses they think are not worthwhile, because I bet you for every course that is listed that is considered not worthwhile, I can find you a period of time where that was extremely valuable. And so, but the overarching point I made about post secondary was a rather significant increase in the cost of post secondary. And that is something that is affecting the decisions many young people and their families are making right now.
Thank you for that. So basically, what you're saying is that education should be a little more subsidized for our people, for our children, right? Isn't that what you're saying?
Sorry, say that again, please, Mary.
Are you saying that our courses should be a little bit subsidized for our Alberta students?
No, I'm just saying that the cost of education has significantly gone up, and I don't understand the rationale for that. And yes, it's fair to say we are wasting money on the war room, but it's about priorities, right? It's about priorities. If we understand the significance of post-secondary education and how that transforms an economy over the medium to long term, we would appropriately determine that it deserves that kind of attention. So, I'm not saying anything different from that.
Okay, all right. So moving on to the next question, because we've spent a lot of time on education now, I want to ask IZ about what do you think our leaders should do in terms of equal representation of BIPOC communities in every sphere of society, whether it's employment or government?
Sorry, BIPOC. When you say BIPOC, what does that translate to? What do you mean by
Black, indigenous people of color?
Oh, okay. I think a country like a province like Alberta, we have indigenous people, people of color. I think there should be more in the areas, for instance, like when you have the trade industry. Not. I believe that education, it shouldn't just translate to, classroom, getting a degree. I also believe because this province is the mainstay remains the trade, whether I would like it or not, right? I would like a situation, or I would prefer a situation where more investments, where more people of color, natives, have access to credit facilities, like to go through this training, so that they can have trades like in the industry, whereby they can, be gainfully employed. Because at the end of the day, these trades pays pays better. It pays a lot of money. You can make a lot of money. Being, for instance, if you're an electrician, a journeyman electrician, for instance, it makes more than a professor in a university, right? So if we can intermarry these things together, that everyone can benefit from, the trade industry. At the end of the day, it's a win-win for everyone. Education, getting degree, getting a white collar job, and those who want to work, dirty their hands, use their hands, it should be all be married together, so that everyone will not be left, falling through the cracks. Some people want to go through the university, some want to go through the trade route. At the end of the day, people are all carefully employed. We are all contributing to, by, building
Yes.
up the society, building
Right.
up the country, building up the province. Because when we work,
My specific question is, what kind of policies would you like to see so that we can have equal representation of BIPOC communities?
yeah, when you have people, from various uh, strata of the society, like from the Black community, the Native community, as heads leading these industries, they know better what the people want, what is suitable to their people. Like if you have a ministry agent or department, when people are adequately represented. I have a Black person, for instance, in a board. A Black person knows what, at least to some extent, what people from his community will want. An Indian man will know. An Indian person, for instance, will know, oh, this, my people, this is what will be suitable for them. This is their thinking. This is what they want. So adequate representation, when we have adequate representation from every community, I think that also it will help a lot, right? Because the government, as in the yearnings and aspirations of everyone, will trickle down more efficiently to the government, so they know at the end of the day, this is what people want. This is how we want it. This is what we want. These are the things we want. This is more of what we want and less of what we want. So if people are well represented, when people from, where you are native, you are Aborigine, you are from wherever, you are represented, but it will go a long way, because at the end of the day, it's representation. When people are equally represented, then I believe it will help to like the
Sure. Thank you
needs.
so much for
It's
that, IZ. We
Yeah.
have to move on. Ben, would you like to add to that about how, like, we can make Alberta more receptive to having people from, like, what kind of policy should be in place? What do you think should happen to allow access to people of color to all these
Well,
different strata?
I think that's a good question, and so there are a lot of ideas, and the issue is where do we move from these ideas into clear policy and then into implementation. There is no doubt that one of the most important pillars that helps many underrepresented represented groups is about number one, representation. When
Exactly.
you see people who look like represented groups in authority, in positions, that helps that transition. And yes, I can see that both of our big political parties are interested in that direction. I know that in these elections, for example, you know, a good number of candidates are from underrepresented communities, and that will be wonderful. I mean, the results in 15 minutes time will help us see how that has helped. And I know both parties are making some good efforts to attract and support candidates who are from underrepresented communities. Another important pillar in my view has to do with resources. Right now, access to resources would allow people who do not have the means and the funding to go into the trades. I know the trades are quite supported, but to go into other industries where traditionally there has been less representation. So, number one, representation. Number two, resources. And there is a third factor in addition to all this, and it has to just do with the fact that supporting people when they go into these underrepresented areas requires some policy changes.
Exactly.
It's sometimes it's a struggle when you are the only minority in a certain
Exactly. So
environment.
let me point out this because I know that as a lecturer, you might be really a minority in your area of expertise. Am I right?
I mean, I don't want to end up saying appoint people because they are different, because then that defeats the purpose.
That's true.
I want to say appoint people because they are qualified, because they bring a stream of experience that is missing at the table. That is where I am coming from,
I
because
totally second that because,
absolutely.
and it is not as if there are not enough resources available to appoint those people. They are available, but they're not being looked at many times. So, for example, on a board of a multicultural, a non-profit organization, I see so many people from the mainstream community, but not too much representation from the people they're trying to serve. So, why is that? Like, it's such a weird kind of a situation where you have people from the mainstream community trying to give services to people. They don't even know what their needs are. So
It is a
just like
shame
Izzy was
that,
talking
sorry.
about, he was saying that I understand the needs of my community and I can serve them better. Yes, that's totally right up there. And why are people not seeing this? Why are the leadership not making it mandated that those kind of organizations should have people at the helm who understand those issues so that they can serve them better?
Yeah, so sometimes, can I come in?
Yes, please, Izzy, go ahead.
Because sometimes uh, policy formulation, policy changes, right? Without implementing some changes, right? These things cannot be, sometimes it cannot be achieved because it's been like that, you know, um, it will be like that unless sometimes there are some policy changes like to create this to make these things possible like what you just said you see um, you are trying to solve a problem but on the board the people trying to solve a problem right you are solving a problem that you are is from not from your community like you don't know the people you're trying to represent unlike the the people having that problem like this let me use minority I don't like to use the word minority so but the minority for instance if they have representatives from their community right like Ben said not for the sake of just representation. If they are qualified, for instance, right? They are qualified for such positions. That can facilitate, the changes. That can facilitate the process because you are dealing with your own people, right?
That's
Underrepresented.
totally, we've spoken about this. So can you tell
Yeah.
me what is the barrier to making that happen? That is what I want to hear. What is the
Policy
barrier and
change.
why is that not?
Policy change. Policy change.
So what kind
Policy.
of policies would you like to see? How do we give access to more people from the minority communities? How do we allow that to happen?
Laws have to be passed. You know, laws have to be passed. Some changes have to be made. Like some big companies, for instance, there's always a certain percentage given to underrepresented or minority to make things a little bit multicultural, evenly balanced, right? So policy formulation, policy change has to take place because you cannot, like, when you want to underrepresented community, there needs to have, reps, people representing them, because you can't overemphasize the importance of that, because without that, it's challenges. It's very challenging because the people you're trying to deal with, you don't know them, you don't understand. Like, it's hard to explain because the people from your community, it's easier, it trickles down faster because you know them better. So if there's
Totally
policy
agree.
change.
Totally agree.
Yeah,
Let's move on to
yeah,
the next question.
yeah.
What party do you think is going to win today, IZ?
To be honest, if nobody can say that, it's close, it's neck to neck.
I'm
I
asking you
can't,
for your opinion. You can just tell me what you think. What do you think?
because of my bias, because of my political affiliation, because I lean towards, the NDP most of the time. So I will want the NDP to win because I feel politics is about interest. I feel the NDP my interest will be better secured, or will better uh, met if the NDP was to win.
Okay.
But again, you never know. This is a better. It's always been conservative, right? So, but
Exactly.
yeah. So
So
we
let's
have
go
to.
on to Ben. What do you
Yeah.
think, Ben, is the likelihood? If you ask me for my opinion, what I would say is neither party is going to get a majority, and they will have to form a coalition government. So, what would you say? What do you think?
Okay, now before I come to that juicy question, I just want to say that there is, I belong to a group called the Diversity Institute out of Ontario and
Uh-huh.
out of Rising University. And one of the big campaigns they have launched is called Choose to Challenge. And at the heart of it is the 50-30 challenge, where they are challenging 900 plus organizations to have 50% women representation and then
Wow.
30% representation from underrepresented groups. So that is a
Wow.
campaign. So it's not like there's nothing happening. There's a lot of it happening. Now, I'm not a big fan of, legislating some of these things, because then you get immediate opposition to it and nothing flies. I've seen that
Mhm.
both big political parties in Alberta, for example, are making a lot of effort into having a good chunk of their candidates come from underrepresented groups. And if things go well in this election, you would see a legislature which is or which is the most diverse yet.
Oh,
And we will
wow.
see what it would look
Cheers to
like
that. I hope it works.
in the next 6 minutes. And now to your big question about who's going to win. I mean, there are 87 seats. There are two main parties. I don't think any independent is going to get in, or anyone from the smaller parties. And
Yeah.
so whatever happens, because the number of seats are odd, someone would get the majority. That's absolutely gonna happen.
But
That's just the way it's gonna
um,
go. Yeah, come in, Isaac. I would answer the
uh,
main question, but go ahead, Isaac.
I believe that, you know, um, Calgary will decide who forms the next government.
Mhm.
So you see those ridings, some ridings in Calgary, right? Some of them are too close to call, right? You can't. It can go either ways. To be honest, it can go either ways because the stake has never been this high. Edmonton is sure. I can sleep on Edmonton. It's done. The UCP, no, they should forget about Edmonton. Edmonton is NDP. They should is given. The last time, it was just a seat, a single seat they managed to get. But this time around, the dynamics 4 years ago, those things have changed.
Yeah.
You know, Edmonton will cancel those rural areas. The battle is in Calgary. It goes either ways. So it's hard. It could be anybody's game in Calgary. That's just it.
Wow, this is
All
so
right.
exciting. This
I
is
see.
crazy.
I see. Isaac is a little bit excited now.
It
No,
could,
we
it
are
could
all
go.
pretty excited because this
It,
one is a very tight race.
it could go either ways. It could go either ways in Calgary. That's just it. It's gonna be very, very close. Really close.
We
In
have to see
Calgary.
now whether it's Edmonton celebrating or the rest of, maybe the rural Alberta.
Sorry, can I
No.
just jump in? A text has just come in here. Calgary is blue. Tell IZ.
Where is the result? Where's the proof? Where's the result?
Talking about proof, it's 5 minutes to 8, Mary.
There's no result yet. There's no official result.
I'm going to share what my job is tonight. Just hold on. I'm going to be presenting from this page. Screen share. So here are the unofficial results. Can you see? So this is what we are going to be sharing. Nothing is tabled right now, but our job is to go through this when it starts to show. So can you see we're all ready for the 2023 provincial general election, the unofficial results? And we're waiting now for 8 o'clock in 2 minutes. And this will start to populate. Ben, I see you're smiling. Are you ready? Are you ready?
I am smiling because there are always surprises, right? There are opinion polls. Opinion polls have a margin of error. Sometimes, in fact, quite often, they get it completely wrong. And that's the beauty of how these elections go. I am convinced that we'll have some really shocking results tonight. And I can't wait to see them roll in and discuss them.
Oh my God, this is everybody's waiting with bated breath to see what comes up on that screen.
Okay, Mary, in 2 minutes will be 8 o'clock. You want us to take a commercial break now? Grab some water. Everybody
Sure,
get
let's
drink.
do that.
We'll be
Thank
back at
you so
8.
much, Ben and Izzy, for your educated opinions. Thank you so much, and I look forward to celebrating with both of you.
Okay, so we see Ben at the top of the hour. Izzy, don't go away. We need you. You're here for your country, for Alberta. We're doing this together. The BIPOC perspective continues right after this. Thank you, everyone, for your support. Please don't go away. Hello, welcome back to the BIPOC perspective. Alberta votes, and just before we went on a short break, we had Ben and we had Mary, and in a minute they will be there with us. Isaac has been our mediator. We know you're ending tonight. You've spoken the truth. No, there's a lot of static. You've spoken the truth, and this is Mary's, and Mary's back. I just wanted to say that I'm in. Oh yeah, Ben is back. Thank you, my family, for supporting this election streaming. I'm so excited for the potential of what we're gonna be able to do. Imagine if we're here till midnight. Oh God, help us. No, Ben is saying I'm not staying. I told me my wife. Oh, fine, Ben, fine. It's not staying. Okay, that's fine, Ben. I love you right back. I know Ben will do all he can to support us. All right, Mary, over to you. I'm just gonna be monitoring the results here. As soon as we hear anything, I'm gonna jump right and we'll get you to discuss it. Um, Election night, BIPOC perspective.
Yeah, so like what do you think in the last 4 years as BIPOC communities you missed? Like what were the things that you think that we can do much better? So I'm putting this question to Ben right now.
I will tell you that a lot of people who are minorities work in the healthcare sector. A lot of people who are minorities work in education and in construction. And the last few years has been quite tough for a lot
Mhm.
of families. And it's just, a combination of um, COVID, economic up and downs, and government decisions. So there's room to apportion blame. And T has told us not to be overly political, and so the sharpest political criticisms, I would tone them down. And Isaac is welcome, welcome to.
I didn't say that. No, I said, in honest to God truth, you guys are NDP groups. That's all I said. Okay? I didn't say it
So
was.
yes, as I was saying, Mary, these are the big sectors that a lot of underrepresented groups have felt some of these changes the most. And the hope is that we'll make different decisions going forward to lead to some better outcomes for us.
You're sounding very Canadian. Can you please, give us a little more sharp criticism?
Isaac will do that.
So can you maybe go a little bit into the details of what things did you see that you did not like, and what would you like to see change for BIPOC communities?
I want to see more underrepresented people, communities in having a more united front. Can you hear me?
Actually, there's something going on with that headset, I guess. There's a lot of noise.
Can you hear me?
Or maybe it's Ben's mic. So Ben, can you mute your mic maybe? It is muted. I don't know what's going on. There's some problem with the mic.
No, can you hear me?
Not very well.
Bro, your cable is like 10 feet long. What's going on?
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, that's awesome.
Okay. If for Nigeria community, for instance, let's use that as an example. I noticed, it's just my opinion anyways, we we tend to be very, very individualistic, right?
Mhm.
We don't we like to go it all by ourselves. Like we don't have this nice united front. Sometimes we compete with each other rather than, you know, working together. I mean, you know, if you work more together, I think it will help us more in a very positive way, rather than, you know, acting as if we competing amongst ourselves, right? So within our community, you know, there are opportunities if we work together, you know, but sometimes we just don't look at it from that ways. We just want to go by ourselves, want to do it ourselves. But this is not the same with the Indian community. You see them do business together. You see them trade together. You see them do stuff productively together. You see the best business people, you know, among the Indian community.
I have to tell you this, that every community looks at the other community and thinks, wow, they're so good.
No. I'm just giving you, you know, examples, right? I see Indians do stuff together. Like
Oh my God, it's not like that. In every community, there are people who will work together, and in some other communities, there are people who will not work together. So every community, there are those kind of people. In my community, I know.
Okay, Mary, let me put Isaac on the spot for a minute.
But in my
Isaac,
community, but in my community,
if you see other communities doing things that you like, what is stopping you from mobilizing your community into
what is stopping from mobilizing my community?
Yes, what is stopping you from doing that?
Okay, like our community is individualistic. Am I going to force anybody to do business with me? No, I can't force anyone to do business with me. Yes, I have. I have tried. I have done that.
Have you given up yet?
No, not really. I've not given up. I can't give up. I can't give up on my people. I can't.
Keep at it. Yeah. But you know, in truth, we cannot expect a government to come and do things for people. That's just not very effective. But I know that reading from both big political parties, I know one of them is very eager to work with underrepresented communities to facilitate some of what you are saying. But the key word is to facilitate, not to do things for people, right? And it's incumbent on us to also take some important steps so that we can benefit from that support that's available. I see a comment about a Nigerian Yoruba man.
There's somebody who agrees with you, Izzy.
Nigerians are very individualistic. Whose fault is it that Nigerians are individualistic? Whose fault is it? And who's supposed to fix that? Individual Nigerians have to show their leadership skills and address that. You can who do you think is going to come from some outer planet to come and deal with that, Isaac? Who is going to do that?
Thank you, Ben, for that, because you know what? I know a lawyer, a Nigerian lawyer, who puts his hand out and gives his hand to every student who wants mentorship from him. So it's not as if, you know, there are no Nigerians who are helping other Nigerians. That's not true. There are Nigerians who are very supportive and people know about them and people go to them. So like, it's just finding the inroads. There are good people in every community. I refuse
get involved, volunteer for activities, and you would meet people from so many different backgrounds. I mean, we're talking politics here. Look at every campaign that is close to you. Get involved in those campaigns, and you will find a lot of like-minded people from across so many different cultures. So yes, if quote unquote your own people are ignoring you, work with like-minded people and see what the result is going to be. I work with a lot of Nigerians, work with a lot of Cameroonians, and a lot of people from so many other backgrounds. I work very closely with T, and she never stopped to tease me. But we
he said, let's work together. We're both Nigerians.
Of course, now. Come
Okay,
on, Isaac.
that was
Come
my
on. Get out there and show some leadership, man.
Yes, thank you, whoever this person RA is. Like, he's bringing interesting points. Yeah, if you accept it, it becomes a truth and a reality for you. Otherwise, if you try to break that, you can. And I think every leader has come out of grassroots movements. So I really look forward to see you, IZ, being one of the trendsetters in your community who will bring everybody together. And I hope that will happen.
I
But
don't
right
want to
now,
put him on the spot by asking him how many other African events he has attended. Cameroon just had, Sierra Leone just had their independence. Nigeria just had something. Ghana just had something. How many of those events have you been? Anyway, let's just move on. Let me not put this my brother on the spot. So let's just move on.
So the next question to you is not about really about your community, but rather about what are the things that you would like to see in the leader, how they bring other people from different minority communities to to represent maybe in office or in like in HR, for example, because in HR we see lots of BIPOC communities missing, right? In many corporates you don't see HR having representation from BIPOC communities. Why don't you see that? And why
Well,
don't
I'm
we force the leadership to make some rules where HR has people from every community?
well, like I said in the first hour of the show, both political parties are making efforts into recruiting minority candidates into seats that they know are winnable. We are likely to see the first black woman elected into the legislature in a few minutes.
Oh my God, I'm
And
so
so
excited.
many more, and so many more things. And it touches on the first thing, the first of the three pillars I mentioned: representation.
Yeah,
Representation not at the kids' table, but representation at the highest table,
exactly.
right? And then number two, resources so that we can be effective. We've seen the African Center be step up its game. We've seen other groups in that space step up their game with support for individual businesses, with a range of events as well for entrepreneurs and other people, and mentoring support for young people. So many, so much happening, and so resources to support that effort is also great. And then, in my view, the third and most important item is opportunity to enjoy our rights like everyone else, right? So, in areas like healthcare, education, policing, when we can enjoy our rights like everyone else, society is better off. So, these are the three key areas, and I want to see some significant work in that field.
Thank you so much, Ben. T,
um,
are we having new people join us? Where is Indranil?
yes, Miss Sandra will be on in about 10 minutes. We are going to have this present panel, I think, till about 9 o'clock. I'm waiting for the next set of people to come. Ben and Isaiah, you're working for the country, for the province. We love you. We salute you. We thank you. Well, now you
T,
must stay.
could you engage this team for 5 minutes? I need to go for 5 minutes.
Okay, that's fine. So what I'm showing now is, I know Ben, you were talking about the first black woman who could win this Edmonton South riding, and that is Rhiannon Hoyle. Alberta, when I clicked on this, it didn't really show me Rhiannon Hoyle. It didn't take me to our campaign. It took me to Alberta NDP campaign. What can you tell us about Rhiannon Hoyle? What can you tell us about Edmonton South?
I mean, it's a very thriving community. It's very mixed, very diverse, and we are known as a stellar record of of community work. She ran for city council and just lost by a whisker. But take politics aside, we are talking about a very competent, very accomplished woman in her own right, and a voice like that at the table is a much needed voice. It's a much needed voice. Full stop. Is she competent? Absolutely. Does she deserve an opportunity like this? Absolutely. And my hope and expectation is that people from Edmonton South, which I believe goes all the way, close to the airport, they would see the skills she brings to the table, and allow her to be effective in her role as an MLA. So that would be a wonderful addition. It would really speak volumes,
Mm.
and I can't wait to see how that particular election turns out. But it will be amazing for the province if and when that happens, for sure.
We know obviously that if she wins this election, she'll be the first Black female MLA the province has ever achieved, has ever earned. And we know, you and I know, she's worked very hard right now, but to get the results, I think it's only fair I play the advocate for the UCP. Well, I stand as a devil's advocate because just to balance it up. And I know I probably could not ask you about the other candidates in this riding and what sort of chance they have. And let me stop sharing for a minute and look at. I think the UCP candidate here is Joseph Angelis. Angelis. He joined the party late. It was Mr. Tunde Obasan that was in this riding before. But a couple of weeks ago, Mr. Obasan ended his campaign, and we had let me show you Joseph, and then we had Joseph. We had Joseph. So here is Joseph is the next main contender, we believe, to Rhiannon Oil. Do you think, Isaac, that Joseph will make it tonight?
Honestly, for me, the profile of Rihanna, um, I don't know much about Joseph, unfortunately. Um, I just hope my Rihanna wins because she's simply overqualified, hardworking and very competent candidate, and with competence and abilities, I feel she will be a very good candidate for that riding. Joseph, I don't know much about him because he came in very, very, very late after Obasan's withdrawal. So I don't follow them much because it's not my riding. I just hope that my bias. I always speak to my bias. I'm kind of biased towards the MVP.
Okay, sorry. Okay, sorry. Look, it's only fair, right?
Yeah.
That we talk about Joseph and not
Mm,
just all the NDP leaders you want us to focus. And I'm happy you
mm,
mentioned your bias. So
mm.
Joseph Angeles was born in Philippines as the youngest child of Dionisio and Virginia Angeles. He grew up in the Philippines. He graduated with a degree in special education from the University of the Philippines in Diliman. He proceeded to earn his Juris Doctor from Ateneo de Manila University School of Law. So he's a lawyer. He's also from a minority group. He's a Filipino. He's practiced law for several years in the Philippines, joining one of the oldest law firms and transitioned to government work before he came to Canada in 2010 with his wife. He started his career in Canada at the Law Society of Alberta. Um, whilst raising a family and working full time, he completed his accreditation exam in only 3 years. After being called to the bar in 2014, he's worked for large and medium firms and so on and so forth. So we know this is a qualified candidate. This Joseph Miss Angelis is very well qualified. He's a lawyer,
Yeah.
obviously, and I know Ben probably does not agree. He's looking at
Um,
the guy through
can
orange,
I?
through
ob-
orange
ob-
lens.
Obviously, they both qualified. Like, is a qualified.
Qualified, he's
They
a lawyer.
yeah obviously is qualified to is
Let me be
qualified for the
clear
role.
here. T, the truth is, most, if not all, minority candidates who end up on the ballot paper are very, very qualified. Let there not be any doubt about that. Before a minority candidate gets on the ballot paper, usually they are extremely qualified. They are extremely educated, very experienced in the community. So across all parties, most, if not all, their minority candidates are very qualified. So yes, does this resume look good and impressive? It absolutely does. But then we also have to understand that in politics, you don't operate as an individual. So no matter how skilled you are, you have to operate within a system. And if that system is accommodating of you, if that system has an attitude which says we welcome your voice and you wouldn't just be there for great pictures for diversity, but your views and your talents would actually be welcomed and appreciated, then you are at the big table and then your voice is actually heard and it's leading to policy changes. And so that is what I'm excited about. So I don't just care about having a diverse group of people. I care about a diverse group of people whose voices are listened to, which end up bringing up much better policies for people overall. So that, for me, is the key reason why diversifying the slate is a good thing, not just for the sake of diversifying the slate. I hope I'm clear.
You just recently you ran for municipal election. Did they make you jump through the hoops there as well just to get on the ballot? How was that for you? Ben.
Sorry, T, I have a full house for elections
Yes,
tonight,
you're
so I,
ready
I
to
cannot.
fight it tonight. You got the alcohol, you got the popcorn, you
No,
got
no, no, T.
what is
Oh
going on here,
man,
Ben?
T, stop
What is
teasing me
going on?
here.
What is going on in
Uh,
your house?
there's a party, but it's gonna be a clean party. Sorry, what's the
No
question again?
alcohol, no drugs. All right, sir. Fine then.
No, very clean party.
Okay, just joking. I'm sorry. Of course
No, I
not.
know you're joking. What's the question?
So my question is, how was it when you were running for party? Just last year you were running. Did they make
That's
you
a,
jump through
that's
the
a really good question, and
yeah?
I was hoping you would ask that because, like I said, number one, before you put your name forward, you make sure you know that this is a hard process. It's a demanding thing. You have to work harder than everyone else. The vetting process is hard. It's not a fun process. Everything you've ever done will be dug up and you'd have to explain it. And as we have seen in the last few weeks, there are some candidates who were not properly vetted and they brought a lot of challenges to their party leaders and perhaps some party leaders as well. And so I think I saw a very thorough vetting process. It took a bit of time, but I thought it had to be done and it was done well. But here's where I think that a lot of minorities should be encouraged to. I'm getting some feedback, but a lot of minorities should be encouraged to get involved, and it starts by volunteering for a campaign, having a taste of what actually goes into a campaign. Because it's one thing to see a candidate's name and picture on a poster, and it's a whole different thing to get involved in that process. So, yes, get involved in the campaign, get your children involved in the campaign, volunteer for somebody, give your time, give your energy, give some resources, and learn.
I mean,
Get a mentor.
just now, I had Edmonton Southwest. This is one of the key battlegrounds where we'll be monitoring tonight in Nathan Eap, the Alberta NDP candidate, and Minister Casey Medu, United Conservative Party. And I know it's not fair to ask you to give opinions. So, but based on what you said, let us go to Edmonton the core. where we have two Somalis. We have Sharif Aji with the
Mhm.
Alberta NDP, and then we have Sahid, I think it's Sahid Ahmed with
Yep.
the UCP. And I know you've said just now, get involved. So these are two men from the same community who are involved. What more are we asking for them to do? You know,
I'm
and
glad they are involved, and
yeah.
I'm glad they are fighting it out.
Mary, when
And
you're
made
ready to take the lead, let me know. I'm gonna just disappear and let you run this thing.
Well, I am ready. I'm surely ready.
Okay.
But the your questioning and Ben's answering was really quite entertaining. So I was enjoying it, sitting on the sidelines.
Okay, that's fine. Let me keep getting Ben engaged. Look, we've got two Somalis there. We got Sahid Ahmed and Sharif Haji. They've done everything you asked them for, but this was the most divisive of all battles this election period. And the kind of stuff I've been hearing going on at meeting the core, I mean, it's atrocious. I can't mention anything I've heard. Obviously, I don't know if you've been on social media.
Yeah, I've seen it, I've heard it, and sometimes democracy is messy. I mean, think about the alternatives. I'll take this one over all the alternatives. So yeah, it's messy, but we learn and we get better, right? We learn and we get better. At the end of the day, one of the candidates will concede and will offer their help to the other one to make things better for the entire community. And that is the process we have to go through. It's tough, you fight hard, but then at the end of it, like a typical Canadian hockey game, we shake hands, we have some beverages afterwards, and we do it all over again the following day. Hey
Yeah.
Isaac, what do you think?
Yeah, it's politics, right? It's not a do or die fight. It's for the people, right? It's if it's about service, if it's about service to the community, it's not a do or die. Somebody has to emerge. Somebody has to win, right? So when you give people options in an election, you know, people have to pick and choose the candidate of their choice. That is what election is all about, based on their manifestos, right? Based on what they promise, they're gonna do, right? So people have to, key in all those things. Somebody has to win. That's how I look at it. So today, a government will be formed. Somebody has to win. A party has to be. Doesn't matter how we look at it, whether we are pro UCP, you are pro NDP, a
One
government has to be formed.
question I need
And
to ask. Sorry,
and those candidates, irrespective of what they have done, what they have said, their past life, their history, you know, for you
okay,
to
yeah. Okay, listen. This
Isaac, I think your child disagrees with what you're saying.
is I'm gonna. Okay, so listen. Here is the thing. We just saw in admitting the call 4 candidates, but it's a two-party race. I'm just wondering why in this election period, the Alberta Liberal Party and the Alberta Party, what's happened to the other political parties? Ben, your thoughts?
I mean, look, you look at you look at political viability, and people say, you know what, I'm not likely to get everything I want, but I would get most of what I want in this party. And this party has the most viable option of forming government. And for that reason, I will lend it my support. That is what it comes down to. The Liberal Party provincially is rather weak, little money, insufficient organization, and you see that I even think the Green Party would get probably more votes than the Alberta Liberal Party.
Oh,
So that explains that. It's about organization, it's having the resources to do an effective job, and of
oh,
course, a very strong, viable message.
okay.
That
Finally, we have a UCP guy. I'm sorry, Ben. We have to listen to Mr. Indra. We've
Yes.
been listening to NDP all night. I know there's been a movement in the football
Yeah.
world.
Yes. Thank you very much. I don't know whether you can hear me or not.
We can hear you. We
You
can hear
can
you.
hear me?
Yes,
The
sir.
camera. So I will go up to the candidate. He's right here in the corner. Avi, you can start for Star Canada. Yeah.
So where are you,
So,
Mr. Indra? Where are you?
Can you
He's in
move the
Ellerslie, I
camera
think.
towards him?
Are you in Ellerslie?
No, I am in Edmonton, Rutherford.
Okay.
If we
Rutherford.
cannot
Okay.
rotate the camera, we'll give it to the candidate.
Oh, that is
Okay, you
the
can
option. Okay,
you
tell
can
us.
hold if you want, and I can ask a couple of questions. So this is called the ladies' corner. Ladies' corner.
Okay,
Yeah,
hello,
I'm one of
ladies'
the
corner.
Yes.
Sure.
We
And
invited
this
him
is
to our
Star Canada
candidate
TV
forum.
and LCCMedia. Star Canada TV is also going live.
Okay.
So this is Mr. Lane Larson. He is
Oh,
yes,
he's the
he
guy
is
from my
the
riding.
candidate from Edmonton, Rutherford.
Hi.
It is a fantastic campaign he has done.
How
I'm
are you
very,
feeling
very
tonight?
fortunate to be able to be a part of his team. He was also there in the temple, he was in the church, he was there in the mosque, and everywhere. He has touched upon all the communities. But what I was impressed the most, and I told that to Lane, that when I listened to at the debate, Lane was there. The other lady from NDP also did very well. Green Party leader was there. He also did very well. But Lane was outstanding. His debate, it was in the United Church, and people were there for close to 3 hours. I planned to be there only for half an hour, but the way he was, with the cool head, he was answering the questions, it was fantastic. I'll tell more about it when we do the expert comment. At this point, I leave the floor open to Mr. Lane Larson.
Okay, Lane, what are the kind of questions that you were hit with, and what are the points that you really want to make today? Now,
Well, for me, the most important thing is that we need to be representing the people of Rutherford. I think for far too long, politicians have forgotten that their role is truly to be the representatives of the people that elected them to represent them. So that's the number one thing for me, is just making sure that we find out the needs of the people of Rutherford and what their wishes are, and that we take those to the legislature to ensure that the people of Rutherford are getting represented.
so you've gone door knocking, and I know you came over to my house too. So what did you hear from Rutherford? I think we've lost them again.
Yeah,
Did you hear my question, Lane?
I did not. I'm sorry.
Okay, so you have been door knocking, and I know my husband told me that you visited my house as well. I wasn't here, but I'm sad that I didn't see you. But now I get the opportunity to find out, what did you hear when you went door knocking? What are the things that you're going to action on?
When I was door knocking, some of the main points that we found were people wanted to get the hospital built down here in Southwest Edmonton as a priority, as well as some adjustments to the healthcare system, where we're investing a lot of money into our healthcare system, but not necessarily getting good value for that money, whereas we're not getting the care that we should be from the level of investment that we're putting in. So I think for the first time in a long time, people have an appetite to see change within Alberta Health, and to see that we're getting good value for the money that we're investing in that. And beyond that, I would say education. Some parents are hoping to see smaller class sizes. I know one of the things I want to advocate for is getting EAs back into the classrooms. We need to. A lot of our teachers need some help with that, and that's a priority for me.
Okay. Did you hear anything else regarding like inflation, taxation, economy? What else did you hear? Do you think that people need to get more jobs in our?
Absolutely, it's well. That's one of the things that people said that was one of the main reasons they were voting for the United Conservatives and for me, was because the economy has been working much better over the last 4 years. Our job market has really improved. We have the lowest rate of unemployment in the country. So people are sitting here saying that we need to continue under a Conservative government so that we can continue to have the strong economy. The cost of living is certainly an issue, which is another reason that people were certainly voting for us, because we stand for lower taxes and like right now, the province of Alberta has the lowest rate of inflation. And a huge part of that is that, we have a balanced budget, that we have the lowest taxes in the country, and those are causing us to have lower inflation than the rest of the country. So people want to see a conservative government in place in this province so that we can continue with those principles and continue moving Alberta forward.
Yet people aren't able to survive. Lots of people are really struggling. Many of them are losing their homes with the high mortgage rates. So what would you, how would you change that?
Well, yeah, the reality is that, taxes are one of the main drivers of rising cost of living. And, we've already promised to implement a new tax bracket for our low income earners. That's going to save 20% for those under 60,000, and it's going to save $750 a year for those over 60,000. So it's the Conservatives. It's already something that we are actively working to help Albertans with, and we're going to continue to do that over the next 4 years. And
Thank you so much.
I do apologize. I thank you for all coming on here. I do have a few other folks I need to go chat with, though. So thank you for your time, and I appreciate all your support.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lane. That was a good amount of time you've already given. So I will also pass on to a few of the, if you look at a few of the supporters over here, the place is full with diversity. It's one of the news channel, and you want to say it's Simon who helped a lot in the door knocking. Our community leader, his name is Mike Chadda. He lives in Southwest, but helped this writing as well. And then these ladies made some great phone calls over there. So it's a very diverse group, and it's a fantastic group of people. And we are sure we are moving the needle. To what extent we are going to win or not, I'm not looking at it. I believe in the Gita, our philosophy, which says that the process should be correct, the deeds, the actions you have control over, but not the result. But we'll find out the result also soon, which is left to God Almighty. He's
Yeah, it looks
Muhammad. He has
like
helped so much.
at this point, NDP is kind of leading in this Rutherford riding.
Yeah.
65.1% votes go to Jody and
Okay.
7% to UCP at this point.
Okay. Excellent. Thank you for the update. We'll catch up very soon. Bye.
Thank you very much, Mr. Indra. Mr. Indra has been at Edmonton, Rutherford, and we just spoke to the UCP candidate, Lane Larson. We can see there Jody Callagher Stonehouse is winning at 65.1%, but only 2 out of 18 polls are reporting Edmonton, Rutherford, Miss Jody Callagher. That's a beautiful lead right there. That's a very decent lead right there for Jody. Edmonton, Rutherford.
Yeah, it was interesting to see that he said, that people would like us to do the same things with the economy. I would beg to differ because, I think much of it was some of the work that the NDP had done prior to the UCP coming into power that were leading to some good results. Everything else was really not very commendable, according to me, but I think they believe that they've done some good work, which is interesting. So IZ, now we have a few more areas to be counted. In your riding, how do you see these your main two candidates playing against each other?
What is your riding, Isaac? I didn't.
You have to unmute yourself, IZ.
Edmonton, Rutherford.
Oh, you're from the same riding. Okay. Oh, that's wonderful.
Oh, wow.
So we'll see. You never know until you see the whole result, until the end, right? So you never know. So let's keep our fingers crossed and see what happens.
All right.
Yeah.
And I hope he takes us to the next riding as well, and we will see some more action there. It was really interesting to see how, if you stand on the other side, how you see a totally different perspective, right? So it's quite interesting when you see these different perspectives. So, in fact, my own husband was quite impressed when Lane came to our house and he spoke to him. So it was really nice to see. Wow. So this election has been a tough one because previously we've heard our UCP leader say that she wants to privatize healthcare. She wants to, we've all heard this, right? And then in this campaign, she's been just backtracking on those things. Like she's been telling us, I'm not going to privatize healthcare. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to give corporates a tax cut. I mean, all the things she's already done before. So what like what do you think about all those things? Like, you know, when people start backpedaling, like what do you think about that?
Do you want me to come in?
Yes, please.
You know, this election, you know, those things, most of those things, she spoke about during at times when she was a broadcaster. She asked us to discard them. We shouldn't use that to judge her, right?
Okay.
Said that we should discard those things. She said them when she was a broadcaster, that we shouldn't use that as a yardstick to judge our government.
Okay.
But I disagree. Why do I disagree? If we discard those things she said, right, it's either those things she said, she didn't believe them, or she just said them out of her own way. We should discard them altogether. That is where integrity comes to play.
Yeah.
Right? Integrity comes to play. Now there's election, right? You're asking us those things you've said. You've over the past 15 years, you know, as a politician, you've said most of those things. Now you're saying we shouldn't judge you. We shouldn't base our decision to vote on those things you've said. No. Those are it's scary. It's scary. So
Not just jumping. What we're seeing now is, I think these are, I don't know what to make of these figures. Are these the provincial? I don't know what to make of these figures. Then your thoughts. It says this is from
I think the UCP, they're already 42. They only need 44 to form a government, right? So
is that what they're showing here? Is that what this is, that they're at 42? Is that what
yeah,
they're
you have 87 seats, right? You have 87 seats.
okay? Let me show you
Yeah.
something else.
Unless what I'm saying is not correct. This is 42, right? 42.
Okay, I didn't understand what that was. Let me
Yeah,
show
this is you need 44 to form a majority. If you have 44, you form the next government.
Okay, let me show you another screen if you can help me make sense of
Unless what I'm saying is not correct.
Look, it says Alberta New Democratic Party, popular vote 5,103, 60% of the votes. And here it says views 4,000.
Yeah, that's popular vote, the number of votes. It goes by the riding, the number of ridings you win.
Okay, so on this, the Alberta NDP party is doing well. They are 50%, right?
Yeah, they are leading by the number of seats they've won so far.
Okay, so that was global. Maybe I should refresh my screen.
Mr. Ben can come in. Maybe I don't know. Maybe he has more knowledge about that.
I believe these are seats that each party is leading in.
Yeah.
Seats no particular seats have been declared won yet. These are seats that the parties are leading in at the moment. That is my interpretation of the data in front of us.
But is it over? That's what I'm saying, because I'm saying
No, of course
47.
it's not. Of course, if it was, then these party, the networks would have called it, but it is not. So these are just helping us understand some early trends, very, very early on. So
okay,
let's give yourself another 15-20 minutes. We'll have some confirmed
it's going to be over in 15-20 minutes, eh?
confirmed results right now. But our friend RA says there are some NDP candidates that have spoken against the oil and gas industry, and they don't see the mainstream media making a fuss about them. I think on that one, I mean, I don't think it's accurate. because we, the mainstream media could very well speak for themselves. But I think when some people have said some things and there's been an election, that election more or less settles those things. And so the emphasis goes to what have you said in the intervening period leading up to the next set of elections. But I think the media has done an okay job trying to hold parties to account. I would want to see a future where we have a lot more debates, we have a lot more discussions among candidates and leaders, not just a 1 hour debate among the leaders. I want to see multiple debates between the leaders or among the leaders, and also for the MLAs. A lot of MLAs have said some or candidates have said some very, very scary things. And apart from people challenging them on social media, there isn't a lot of really accountability beyond social media. And I want to see the growth and development of our politics to get to the point where we have a more thorough evaluation of some of the statements candidates have made.
Okay, there's some breaking news. I believe you may have picked it up, but it appears Alberta NDP Sharif Haji is. Let me just share what I'm saying and help me make sense of it. I'm going to calm myself down now. Let me just share what I'm saying and you make sense of admitting the core. There's only one of 19 polls reporting there for admitting the core. Is this a projection of what the night will look like for Sharif Haji?
It's one of 19.
I know.
Calm down. It's don't get too excited. It's one of 19. As you told yourself, let me calm down. So I would ask you to listen to yourself. Calm down. I think it's not gonna be a very long night, but we'll begin to see some confirmations shortly. But you've done all the hard work, and now we see how it all turns out.
We
Yeah.
wait and watch.
And pray maybe for some people.
But it's
So
looking like
another big point that this election was being fought on for many of the people of faith was whether Christian schools are a good idea, who's funding them, why should we fund them, and stuff like that. So I just want your perspectives on, do you think faith-based schools are a good idea in Alberta? Should they continue? And where is your buck on this? Let me go to IZ before I go to Ben. IZ, can you please unmute yourself, please?
Yeah, what was the question? Sorry.
What do you think about faith-based education in Alberta, and should they continue? Or should the public education fund them? And there is a whole lot of noise behind this topic. So I just wanted to find out where you stand. I mean, what's your perspective?
Or if faith schools should be funded by the government? Is that what your
Yes,
question?
whether they should continue, whether they should be funded by the government. Yeah.
Yeah, I believe that. I believe that. I believe that it should be funded. I think so. In my own opinion, in my own views, right? Some people might disagree, but I believe that. I believe there should be more funding for faith-based schools. That's just me. That's how I look at it. Some people might differ, right? So I think
Okay.
there should be more. I think there should be more funding for it.
Yeah, but do you see our NDP leader supporting that view?
Oh, that's yet to be seen. But in my own opinion, if it's up to me, there's more funding for faith-based school. But since they've made promises that okay, there'll be more funding for our education, healthcare, I believe in that direction. I believe that. I believe so.
Okay,
That's my
Rachel
belief.
Notley
Yeah.
got her seat. All right. So, what would you like to add to that, Ben?
I'm a big fan of transparency. If we are using public funds, we should know where those funds are going, how they are being used. I want to see access to people. So access, don't just pick the best, the brightest. No. If people who are less able physically or who have other forms of disability want access, they should have access. And I think whenever we use public funds, the public interest is something that should follow those public funds. And so, when it comes to that conversation, this is what I think is missing, and therefore what I want to see included in that conversation. Public funds, public interest. Let's not just allow some institutions to pick the best and brightest. No, because then the public institutions, the public schools have to deal with that with limited funds. And so, in my view, this is an area which requires a lot of looking into. But as I said, it's a big group around me right now on the election watch, and so apologies for the background excitement.
So here we see a UCP and an NDP candidate going neck to neck.
Lenora.
It's early days, my friends, early days.
You think so? It's almost done. It's almost done. It's oh my God.
Somebody's really getting stressed out here. Okay, so I heard a lot of conversation about the gender politics, the transgender, and all the LGBTQ community. Would you like to weigh in on that debate? Like, why are we fighting about these things? Don't you think everybody deserves a right to be at the table?
I mean, you state what you think is a problem, and then with that in mind, I'll be happy to answer the question. But what's the exact question you're asking?
So there was this huge debate about, should parents be given the opportunity to permit their children to have sex change operations?
Then who made? I really am struggling to get the context. I know there's a lot that has been thrown out into the conversation, especially from the United States, and this is an issue that
No,
is
it's right
not
here in Alberta. Rachel
okay. So
Notley was
who's
the one who said that she does not like that parents can refuse the child from getting a sex change operation.
okay? And what's the question?
So that's the question. So basically, do you agree with that? Do you disagree with that? How, like, what is the best solution to this problem that's coming up? Like, how do we resolve this? Don't parents have to have a say before the child is 21?
I mean, as a teacher, I really am just excited about the students in my class and the opportunity to help them in their journey to achieving some knowledge and some skills. That is what I am interested in. Everything else should be about their family and their doctor's decisions. So I really I don't have any extra views on this issue. I'm excited and I'm thrilled at the opportunity and privilege actually to teach students to help them develop their skills, treating them as fairly as I could and helping them on their way without any ounce of discrimination whatsoever. I think my views about other people is irrelevant. I think if they are doing what they believe is in their best interest, who am I to intervene in that effort?
No, I really did not understand on which side you're leaning. Are you leaning
Why
for?
are you interested in finding out which side people are leaning on instead of trying to understand what they are saying and what they believe in? Why do you feel the need to put what they are saying in this box or that box? Why should what someone is saying fit a box in your head?
Because right
Why
now it's
should
either NDP or UCP.
no, it's
No,
not
no,
like
no,
that.
no,
There's
no.
a
It's not like
bigger
that.
world than that.
No.
Everything isn't just about do you fit this camp or do you fit that camp. It's not like that. These are real lives, these are real people, and it is insufficient to say I need you to fit beautifully into this camp or into that camp so I can sleep easy. It is slightly more complicated than that.
Yeah, that's true. I agree. IZ, what do you think about this kind of a debate? Like, what do you think about it?
Usually, I try avoiding this topic because, like Ben rightly said, it's not we versus them or this box, that box. I try to I try avoiding it so that it's because it's a very powerful debate, you know. So I just try to give him my opinion about this particular subject. I wouldn't like to comment, giving my opinion on this subject. What I
Oh, so
think, what I think,
yeah.
my own opinion shouldn't determine. It doesn't matter. My own opinion regarding it, it should be my own opinion, and I just want to take mute over it. I don't like to talk about this
I mean,
particular
I'm
subject.
happy to talk about it. When it comes to public policy, what are the public policy rules on it? Are there any rules being broken? No. Can you treat people like real human beings, regardless of any visible or invisible differences? Because that's what it comes down to.
Very true.
That is what it comes down to, is it not?
I agree.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
that's true. I agree to some extent. I
So
agree with you.
unless you have a very pointed question, and I note that you are eager to put people in this camp or that camp. I mean, we don't even know, you've not even defined what each camp believes in. And then to say, okay, so do you like this camp's view or that camp's view? You've just said, hey,
No, no, no,
opine about this issue.
no.
Well, there you go.
No, because it bothered me.
Also,
That's why I
also
remember reading it.
we have to remember what the law says or the constitution says about some of these things, right? So sometimes, like I said before, I just try to um, focus on the things that are more important to me. I'm not saying this is not an important subject. I'm not saying it because this is people's lives, but I try to focus more on uh, things that are more that affect my life, you know, uh, personally. That is not to say this is not an important subject or debate. I just try avoiding it personally. It's just my own view.
Sorry,
It's
can I
just my
jump
opinion.
in here? Can I just jump
Mm.
in and to ask our audience if you'd like to be to join the panel, you can text 587-974-9830 and we'll send you a link. I know Enterprise Champs is saying now we are beating about the bush on this LGBTQ question. They think we're beating about the bush. You There's another part. You are asked to respond as though you were Rachel or Daniel Smith. Okay, the question is explicit enough, sir. I think this this comment is for Ben. I think they may be thinking your answer was really political. You knew the question Mary was asking you. Mary was asking you a definite question. You gave a political answer. What say you?
Yeah, he gave a very politically correct answer.
Yeah, he wasn't going to be roped into this.
Yeah, both of them decided we're going to
This
just.
feedback is rather harsh. No, I thought the question was quite vague, and Mary herself conceded that she couldn't put my answer in a particular box.
Yeah,
And I
that's
said,
true.
I didn't expect my answer to fit a particular box. I mean, why does everything have to fit a particular box? We are more complex than that.
Oh,
We
yes. No, I
surely are. I
agree with
mean,
everything you
and
said,
and
Ben.
this is really important to me. Look, I have taught in multiple countries, in multiple continents, and all I care is that student in front of me, meeting their needs, meeting their expectations, helping them achieve a bunch of skills that they can use later in life. Treating them with
I'm
the
totally with you
dignity,
on this.
treating them with the dignity and the respect that I would want to be treated. And if enterprise believes that this amounts to being PC, well, I'm sorry to let you down, enterprise, but this is what I do. I'm sorry, it's not.
Okay, let me just go a little bit back off a little bit, okay? Because I feel like the weight has landed too much heavily on Ben's shoulders. So I really believe that the state should not interfere in private affairs. And at this point, I feel as if it is. That is where I have a problem. Like, what is happening within the family should be the family's problem, right? I don't know how it becomes a government problem, really.
Okay, thanks for your concluding comment there. I didn't see a question, and I'm sure I'll be told I have avoided a question somewhere. But there you go. But
Oh my
Mary
goodness,
was
Enterprise Champs doesn't want to let us go.
no. I think they're entitled to
Everybody,
offer their
everybody,
thoughts on this issue. And
everybody's, yeah. People have different opinions regarding the subject, right? So it's a
Yeah.
very hot, sensitive issue that you know you need to tread very carefully, so that you don't.
I have a new panelist.
Hi.
Hi. Would you like to introduce yourself quickly for us?
Oh, yes. This is Greg Davis, a publisher of Melanistic Magazine.
Wow. Nice to have you with us, Greg.
Yeah, no
Um,
worries.
so
hey
the
Greg, how you
question that
doing?
I
I
was
think
working with
we've seen each
Ben.
other at a few places.
I'm always on the scene, lurking in the shadows, kind of thing.
So the question that we were all discussing, we were toying with, was about the LGBTQ and how Rachel Notley had weighed in on that topic, and she had said that she would not like families to, um, like put a barrier when the child wants a sex change operation. And I just want to ask you, what is your opinion on this whole issue?
Um, I gotta say, anything with when it comes to the LGBTQ community, sorry, it's really just a plot device and a talking point for politicians, and a way for them to try and drive wedges and create culture war issues that, quite frankly, are not important to me and you. We live and we treat each other as human beings as how we want to be treated. Basic,
Wow,
pure and
that's
simple.
another PC answer. Thank you so much.
Well, no, it's a simple, very very basic, simple concept. Do unto others as you'd like to have done unto you. So if regardless if you're left wing, right wing, if you can't understand that basic concept, I mean, this is they use the LGBTQ community just like how they use the black community as a plot device. That's
Mhm.
that's all Rachel Notley and Danielle Smith do with it. They don't. If they truly cared about the situation and the humanity of people, they'd focus on how do you uplift us as individuals and as people so that we can all live our happiest and most fulfilling lives. But that's not
Thank
the
you.
point.
Since you joined us late in the panel, so I'm going to put a few questions straight at you. I hope you
Hmm,
don't mind that.
hit me.
What is the kind of leader you're looking at today, and what are the kind of things you would like to see change from what you saw over the last 4 years?
Honestly, I'd like to see a more rational politician. You know, you have the NDP doing their thing and talking about human rights, but really and truly, do they mean it? There's always a question that we ask as progressives. And then you have the UPC that are just have somehow become a party of bad faith actors, which it's the hypocrisy doesn't even register on some of the policy issues and the talking points. And they've created a situation where either you're with us or against us, which
Hmm.
makes no sense to me. If you want to have a thriving system, a thriving economy, a thriving society, you need to embrace viewpoints from all angles. And
Hmm.
then based on the good and the bad of those viewpoints, create policy positions and create a pathway to success. But that's not what we see here. We
Hmm.
see, oh, you're a leftist, oh, or you're a conservative, oh, and because you maybe one or the other, I can't work with you, or I can't deal with you, or I refuse to acknowledge your opinions, even if your opinions are correct, which is asinine to me.
Very true. I totally agree. And in the bargain, Alberta as a province, we lose because when people don't work together who are in leadership, then it's the community that really loses. So,
Yeah.
what are the kind of things that you would really starkly like to see changed, um, with this new leader that we are going to get?
You know, I I don't really see much of anything changing with any of these leaders. To be honest, it's going to be the status quo at best for one, and conspiracy theories at best for the other. What I like to see them, figure out is how can they create actual, policies that benefit us, and forget the culture war nonsense. COVID's over. Let's get past all that. Let's get past the culture war, and let's focus on issues that actually matter to people.
And what are those issues as you see it?
Um, I'll give you an example. Another plot device that these politicians like to use is inflation. Right? They talk about inflation, and they sling mud at each other to say who's responsible for inflation, and none of them actually target some of the real causes of inflation. So, for example, when you look at the supermarket pricing, why are they not sitting down the heads of these supermarkets and say, hey, can you stop price gouging the consumer? Since COVID, a lot of these, for example, in the food industry, the supermarkets in particular, their profit margins have gone from 15% to as high as 50%. And then they brag about it on investor calls. And then they ask the question, well, inflation, I don't know, man. It's even. We don't know. Well, I'm sorry. If your profit margin is 50%, that is a leading driver of inflation. But the government will not tackle these corporate leaders because they're afraid of them. And the media won't tackle them because, well, they need their advertising dollars in order to survive.
So, how do we break through this conundrum?
Oh, you need a leader with the dare I say the balls to step in there and mix it up with people. Right? You gotta be willing to take some shots and fire some blows back. But as long as it's as long as politics and media are driven by the need for donations and big dollar advertising, and you sacrifice objectivity and actual real information, not much is going to change because the electorate won't know the truth. They won't know the difference.
That is so interesting, Greg. Wow, that was a brand new perspective. Thank you so much for that.
No, it's all good.
With the UCP, we have seen that they have, given rebates to the big corporates, and then the corporates, frankly, laid off a lot of people, and we surely don't want to see that. So, what are the kind of things that you would suggest to the next government in terms of taxation?
Take the money back. No, I'm serious. Take it back. Like, we gave you, a lot of times people talk about socialism and we shouldn't be helping the little guy, but the corporations are quick to ask for a handout, and you give them the handout, and they celebrate and they throw parties and do stock buybacks, and then they lay off a bunch of people and price gouge and things like that. Okay, well, airlines, we helped you out during COVID. Give us that money back. Right? Supermarket.
That's a cool idea, but I don't know how practical that is going to be, and who is going to be able to apply such a thing. I mean, it's very.
If you can give tax breaks, to the corporations, you can impose taxes on corporations.
I like it, but I don't know how it's going to happen. I hope something like that happens.
Well, someone's got to step up and be willing to do it.
That is just awesome. There are some other questions. We've not seen some like the work that previous government had done in terms of environment and moving things into some other, non-fossil fuel-based industries. Where is your opinion on those kind of moves? Because it was all pulled back with the UCP.
Well, again, this is a classic example of if two sides don't talk to each other, you can't find a middle ground. So, yes, oil and gas, it does contribute to harming the environment. It also does contribute to preserving the environment up in Fort McMurray and Wood Buffalo. For example, a lot of people don't realize that part of the reason they have innovated their way of extracting oil is to prevent it from flowing into the river systems and waterways, because that oil actually bubbles up through the ground naturally. They got so much up there. So by extracting it, they're trying to, to some degree, preserve and save different aspects of Wood Buffalo Provincial Park.
Wow! Why didn't somebody say this before?
Unless you speak to people who work up there in the industry, you won't get that perspective.
Wow, that's amazing.
Right? And then you have the extreme where, well, let's go to all electric vehicles. Okay, fine. Have you ever seen a lithium mine pit?
Nope.
If you pull one up and you see what it looks like, you have to shake your head and wonder, what are we talking about? Right? Those mine pits that they use for those batteries for electric vehicles wreak havoc on the local environment in which they're extracted from. Not to mention, the people that are doing the extraction get paid half a penny on the dollar.
And many of them are children.
Many of them are children, uneducated, underrepresented countries. So who's better? Oil and gas? Lithium, like green energy? Like, what's the solution? But you can't have a solution unless both sides are talking to each other and coming up with something that's reasonable.
I can see that Rhiannon is leading in her riding.
That's right, go Rihanna. I don't think they're ready for her. But she's gonna bring hot fire in that. They don't
It'll
know
be
what they
nice to see a black woman in office.
Oh my God.
they let a Trini in the, oh boy, they going bacchanal inside of that chamber. I see Mr. Madhu is not doing so good right now, but it's still early, I guess.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's still early. You never know.
Hmm.
So as these results are coming out slowly, where is your head at, Izzy? What do you think about these results coming out?
I think the way things are going, um, it might be UCP again, but yeah, it might be UCP again. But let's see how it goes.
But obviously, there will be some representation from BIPOC communities, hopefully, and also they will have to work together because there will be some MLAs from the NDP.
Of
Right?
course, they will have to find a way to work together. They have to work together.
Yeah. So how do you see that panning out? Because over the last campaign, you saw a lot of bickering from both sides. What would you say? What would be the best strategy, Greg, for the two parties to work together? Because now that's the impending future, as I see it.
Well, in terms of working together, one of the things that really highly annoyed me about this last go around was the fact that the both leading black MLAs allowed party leadership on both sides to drive wedges between the two of them to the point where they could not work together on any policy position supporting the black community. Drove me absolutely insane. You know, you speak to David Shepard about it. He says, well, he's willing to work. You speak to Casey. Casey's not interested even having a conversation about it. You know, they go as far as having two separate Black History Month events.
Oh my God. Yeah.
you know, that has to stop. That has to end. I don't care if you're a conservative or a New Democrat. If you're elected to the chamber and you're there to represent our community because we need seats at the table in positions of power to impact policy positions and change. And you cannot allow white supremacy to drive you apart because of party lines. If you can't work together on Black History Month, what do you think the upper people in the chamber are saying? They're laughing at us.
Very true.
I don't
Yeah,
know what
that's sadly what we saw during the last election and the last 4 years. And what I think, because there will be a change in leadership, there might be a change to that too. But what would you think would be the suggested practices or any best practices that we can avoid these kind of pettiness in politics?
Is you want to take that one?
Do you want me to take that?
Yeah, go for it.
Can you rephrase that question? Can you repeat that, please?
Yeah. So basically, the question I'm asking is, what are the kind of best practices that can be put in place for leaders from the same community, from the same BIPOC community, to not be as petty as they have been?
You see, politics, this politics of a thing, some people take it to the extreme. It's either you are left or you are right. They take it both extreme. Politicians have to find a way, whether you believe you are UCP, you are NDP, they have to find a way to work. It just have to be practical. You have to find a way to work with each other. Otherwise, you cannot achieve much, like with continuous bickering, fighting, arguing, no agreement, you can't achieve much. You know, there has to be a way, there has to be a mechanism that allows the synergy between both sides for the people to achieve any meaningful dividends of what what their elected leaders are there to are elected for. At the end of the day, governance is about the people. It should be about the people, right? So there has to be a way with our leaders, you know, in our community, working with each other. There's no way about it. There's no other way around it. There has to be a way to synergize with one another to achieve, you know, desirable outcomes. We can't continue fighting, arguing, disagreeing. You know, our time is limited, right? You know, you only have limited time to work and make things, make changes, right? You can't like.
So, as a representative of the Black community, have you made it clear to Casey Madhu and David Shepard that you did not like the way they work together?
Yes, I have. I have.
Oh, that's fabulous. Okay.
Yeah, but there has to be, you know, making just, it's not a question of just talking, making these things known. These people has to find a way to like work together. There's no, I don't see how there's no other way around it.
Exactly.
Like there's no other way around it. You have to come together
but
to work
you know,
together.
like when they get these identities as leaders, they really don't understand it's not about them. It's
No,
about
it's not. It's about the people, right? If it's about the people, then they should set aside their differences, their egos, right? Working together. That's how it should be like. Because at the end of the day, it's about the people, right?
exactly.
If it's about the people, they should set aside their differences, working
Yeah.
together. Yeah,
So let me put the same question to Greg. Like, would you like to maybe state in a few points what are the kind of things that we could do to see this not recur again?
Well, I think let's see if we can start by going back to working together on Black History Month, cooperating on celebrating Black History Month in Edmonton. Telling me that we can't, as a Black community, celebrate Black History Month together because of party politics? That's ridiculous. This year when they had the Black History Month ceremony, I was so offended by what went on. And I was told by Casey Madhu that it was the minister of culture that's who created the situation, and they were just following orders. So I sent a letter to the minister of culture, the scathing letter, saying, this is not appreciated. Whatever role you had to play in it, this must stop, or Melanistic Magazine is going to put every single one of you on blast. They sent a reply, standard PR nonsense. Well, we're working to do better, and we're going to set up a committee to do this and replan everything for next year. And I was just like, look, you guys don't understand who you're playing with. We as a community are tired of the foolishness. We're not putting up with it. And if the leaders can't work together, it is on us when we see them to let them know how we feel by the fact that.
Can you do something like a no cooperation movement or something like that?
No, you just have to hold them accountable. Casey runs from me when he sees me because he knows I put him on notice every single time.
Yeah, I think we need more people with that guts to do that, because otherwise leaders are not going to stand up and be accountable. So this is a great panel I'm with, because both of you have spoken to your leadership and made it known to them that you do not appreciate this kind of petty politics. And I hope that more people in your community are speaking to them in the same way. Because we see the same thing when like there is a South Asian heritage event or something like that. We see all this stuff happening, and it's basically cultural leaders' egos right there. there is like two different events happening, different places, and all these things. Yeah, and as communities, it doesn't show well on those communities because
No,
everybody else is looking at them and thinking, what the heck is going on here? Like, why?
why can't you work together?
Yeah. So moving beyond that, like, I also would like to see, like, I'm so excited that, Rhiannon may probably get elected into her seat. And I would love to see the things that she'll do because she is a very powerful woman
Hmm.
and a leader in her community. Um, so as I'm looking forward to see these results coming in, what are the kind of things that you would expect from Rhiannon if she gets elected in her riding? First to Izzy and then to Greg. Izzy, please unmute yourself.
I think she definitely, if she wins anyways, more is expected because it will be on history the first time a black woman will be winning that seat. So she should be a shiny example. Those things, she during the campaigns, the things she spoke about, the things, those schools that we are promised, we need more schools in the South, right? Those things, will be really, 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 really much appreciated. We need more schools. We need those facilities badly in the South. So those things, and being very, very showing empathy, putting, not just talk, walk the talk. Those things she campaign on, walk, do them, like make them happen, because if she wins, more will be expected from her. She has to deliver. There's no excuse. She can't fail. Like, she has to deliver, right? So I hope she wins. If she wins, she should not forget why, people are entrusting her with this mandate, and it shouldn't be taken for lightly. You know what I mean? So those things, that are dear to our constituents, she has to find a way, to make them happen so that the people that gave her their trust will not be disappointed.
Yeah, so true. Thanks, Izzy, for that answer. I know the constituency is really looking up to her for many of their expectations that they didn't see happen over the last 4 years. So it'll be exciting to see how she moves on those things, on the things that she promised to her constituents. Greg, what do you think? She is going to like really prioritize, and what are the things that you think she will action on?
I don't think there'll be any limits to what she's going to go after. Um, she's a very, very proud black woman, very vocal, has strong opinions, and is not afraid to tell you if she thinks you're wrong. Right. I expect that from her in the chamber. I expect her to be more to strengthen David Shepard's position when he's arguing on the floor for things that impact our community. For years, he's been the lone soldier out there. So now he's got backup, and it's the foundation of a black caucus in Parliament, which is fantastic. So I expect her to be the backbone of building out what that black caucus will eventually look like, and her to be the first of many other black women to not just run but also win and be elected to provincial politics.
Yeah, I totally agree with you because I know Rhiannon and I know how strong she can be in her arguments. And I really love that about her because we really need a strong voice that comes from a BIPOC candidate, and especially a woman candidate, which is very new. There's no precedent, so this is awesome. Besides her, are there any other leaders you have your buck on, Greg?
I'm curious to see how Sharif is doing. I'd love to see him there. Sharif is um, he's been a strong advocate for the Black community for many years, and it'd be great to have his perspective.
Okay, I think we are here with UCP candidate.
Thank you, Mary. Thank you. You can start meeting.
No, he's not here.
No, you can start. No, you start. Hello, Mary.
Hi.
Hi. So I'm here at Joseph Angeles campaign over here, Edmonton South. So first and foremost, you see, he is David Egan. He's the campaign manager, and we call campaign manager is he's the captain of the ship, and he himself has been a nominated candidate from Edmonton North. Now he's helping out, David's campaign over here, over Joseph's campaign over here, and you can see few of the team members have sneaked him out because there is so much of a volunteer support. I'll show you inside as well. But here is the hero as well.
Hello.
So we call campaign manager the
Hi,
director of the
Joseph.
movie, and he's the
Hello.
hero of the movie.
And
It's a ladies' corner.
Okay.
You can say hello to him.
AT, hello.
Welcome to our panel today, Joseph. Thank you so much for joining us. How do you see the energy in your
It's
writing,
still,
and
it's still good.
how is it leaning right now?
It's still good. Reception at the doors have been good, but we're crossing our fingers right now and wishing we're the best.
Yeah, as the votes are getting counted, there seems to be a leaning towards the other side. What do you say about that?
Let's see. Let's
Let's
let
see.
it watch.
Let's just keep waiting. Yeah, for the more results to come in, I guess.
What do you think the constituents in your riding are voting for? What are they looking for?
I think the main issues right now still are affordability, education, healthcare. Those are the three things that I have heard at the doors.
Okay.
Provincial.
And if you were elected into power, what are the things that you would do to make those three things possible? Like, what would you make? What would you prioritize?
The party has clearly spoken that we'll be prioritizing all three. The party has invested heavily in education. Affordability, we've made sure that there's a guarantee. Health-wise, there's a public health guarantee by the party as well. After the writ was dropped, that there'll be no increases. There will be no payments when you go to the hospital. You'll always be free to go see your doctor. And affordability again. There's a new tax bracket. What else? So yes, education. We've invested heavily also here in Edmonton South.
So are there the new schools coming up?
There are new schools planned out for the entire province, including ones in Edmonton South.
If I could, how sincere is Daniel Smith on the healthcare question? Because quite frankly, she spent 2 years talking about gutting and changing the healthcare system of Alberta. And then suddenly, when it's like 4 weeks before the election, she's saying, nothing's going to change.
I think we have
Why should we believe her?
I think we have to distinguish between her comments during her days as a radio show host, and her comments as a leader.
No. I'm not going to let you get away with that. No. She's said these comments as recently as a few months ago.
As recent when she was a leader, she never made those comments.
She's made comments as a leader talking about changes to the healthcare system that alludes to privatizing it.
Not correct. Okay, sir, I have to jump in here. He has to go. I am also at the in the caucus support. This is completely untrue. These are called rumors, which has been spread by NDP, which is completely false. Because we were in Lethbridge together, and the leader asked directly, is there anyone who is that rhetoric that people have to pay from their pocket to go to a doctor? No, it is not true. These are the lies which has been spread by NDP, and please check your records. So I would like to defend my the candidate, and I'll show you the energy, and then we will let you go at this point and take you to the next campaign of it. Look at the
Okay.
hundreds of people here watching the results. It's not easy. It's an orange. It's an orange wave, but still there is a blue island, and that is one of the blue islands here. You can see there are hundreds of people. I'll show you. I'll take you to the front as well. I take you to the front as well, and you can see there are no parking places available. And this is what a fantastic campaign, knowing fully well that this is a orange country, but there could be a small blue island. Though the government is poised to be made by conservatives, I think that's a great energy shown by these candidates. You can have a look, and I will take you soon to the third and the fourth and the fifth locations as well. So at this point, Mary Thomas, I'm signing off. I'll see you very, very soon again. Bye.
Sure. Thanks, Indranil. Bye, Joseph.
Bye. Bye. Thank you so much.
Somebody came up
Yeah.
and said that, I choose to judge her by what she's actually done as premier. She has injected more money in the 7 months into the healthcare system. Would you like to respond to this?
I will totally respond to this. So when Jason Kenney was elected, now let's just roll it. You have to roll it all the way back to Jason Kenney. Before COVID, he gutted the healthcare system. Gutted it. Expired contracts for doctors, fired a bunch of support staff, gutted the system, and then the pandemic hit and it was complete mayhem. So that money that she's investing back into the healthcare system is money that Jason Kenney, the first thing he did was to cut all of those jobs from AHS. And because we're in an election year and she understands that politically she gets it, there's a lot of people in this province that work for AHS and depend on AHS. Let's put back what Jason Kenney took away 4 years ago, get elected, and I bet you if she gets elected, all that investment gone again. Bet you. The fella here on the fella here.
It was
the fella here that we just interviewed just proved my point. He ran away. He ran. Like that's my point. These politicians are so used to patty cake questions that as soon as they get something difficult, oh man, you got to call it. How dare you insult me by asking me a tough question? If you don't like tough questions, quit politics and go home and do something else for a living.
Thank you, Greg. You're right, actually. It's interesting to see how they backpedal when you ask them hard-hitting questions. Well, we'll see how this goes. My husband thinks that Rutherford, the UCP, is leading. I don't know why, but as far as I can see it, it's Orange leading. So, what do you see in where do you live, Greg? In which riding do you belong?
I'm downtown with David Shepherd.
Okay. Yeah, David has been a great voice for the minority communities and BIPOC especially. But he has been a lone wolf for a very long time. So I really look forward to seeing Rhiannon join him and supporting his views like you rightly said.
Yeah.
And I don't see any leader coming up to the to the height of David Shepherd in that riding at all. He's been such a great voice for all the people there. So,
David Shepherd is amazing. He shows up for his community.
Yes, you can see that he is leading in that riding.
Oh yeah. Richard Wong. I know Richard quite well from his days in tourism. But David Shepherd, he shows up. Regardless of his schedule or how busy he is, he'll find a way to show up for your community. And he's out there, he's visible, and everyone knows him. And name recognition says a lot. And he doesn't just show up for election time. He's there tomorrow, he'll be at somebody else's event, some other community situation, talking to people and letting them know, what he's working on.
So true. Is there any UCP leader that you see who has that kind of clout with their community?
UPC leader that I've seen that
Yeah,
has
maybe like Syed Ahmed. Do you see any leaders in the UCP that are really worthy of mention for the work they've done?
I couldn't tell you. I don't know. Is you know any? I can't.
I think we have an unfairly biased orange team here.
No, it's not. I can't tell that because if there's any I know of, I would have mentioned them, but I can't tell that. I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I'm sure there's good leadership on both sides. I wouldn't say that it's like all orange leaders are the best. It would not be right for me to say that.
Oh, I'm
But
not saying that either. I think what has to happen is those leaders within the UPC need to step up and challenge the status quo. And unless they're willing to step up and challenge the status quo and go back to a rational type of conservative leader and leadership, then I don't know what is there to talk to them about, because they're enabling as opposed to challenging and making sure that things are on the right track.
yeah, there is probably more yes men in that team than there are challengers. So that's probably why we don't see so much leadership coming up from those groups. As we move forward, like how do the results coming up look to you? Does Alberta look orange, blue?
No, Alberta is looking blue. It's looking more blue, more conservative.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's very blue across the province. Edmonton is, of course, stronghold, but the rest of the province is kind of what it is.
Yeah. So what you're saying is the leadership is again going this way, huh? Is that what you're saying?
It's looking like it right now.
Okay.
It's currently looking like it. I think the NDP has a lot of work to do in terms of its name. It's letting people outside of Edmonton know what they're doing. They've never really had a strategy, a proper strategy to let people outside of Edmonton know exactly what they're trying to represent.
That's very true.
They have a messaging problem, a huge messaging problem. So
yeah,
that's the thing, just like how I just questioned the good candidate there. They need to go down to Calgary and question everybody just like that in front of their constituents and have them run. And then you're like, see, hey, we asked a question. Is that who you want to be representing you? You got to be aggressive and you got to challenge people and ask questions. And then they don't do a very good job of that.
But did you see this coming? The blue Alberta again?
I'm not surprised. A little disappointed. But it's if the messaging isn't right, then there's not much more you can expect with poor messaging.
So with the current scenario of the results coming in, how do you see leaders in Edmonton working with the rest of Albertan leaders?
So you want to go take that one?
Yeah, politicians. Yeah. For me, politics is about the people. If politics is about the people, the interests of the people, the politicians must find a way, across party lines. There are things they must agree upon in order to work together. Of course, there are differences. There will be differences, ideology. You know, there will always be that, you know, differences, how they see these things, how our government should go. But the people shouldn't suffer because of that.
Yeah.
You understand? The people shouldn't suffer because of ideological differences. Overall good of the people should be the main reason for governance, right? Without the people, of what use is governance? Of what use forming a government? You know, so because of ideological differences, you know, people shouldn't suffer because of that. Like the statements Daniel Smith has made in the past, you know, and statements she kept on repeating, you know, that she's going to privatize healthcare. She's one way or the other. But now, a few months to the election, we are hearing a different story. No, you know, no, you're not going to pay out from your pocket. You're not going to pay out from your pocket. You're not going to pay out from your pocket. But these are things you've said over and over and over again. These are scaring issues, right? You have to make sure that, you know, people believe these things, that okay, you know, they should find a way to, you know, this idea of it is us against them, this idea of you are left or you are right. I don't really buy much. You know, politics should be about ideas. It should be about policies of the people you are meant to serve, right? So they should find a way. They should find a middle ground to agree. Like healthcare, they should agree over it. There should be more funding. I think both sides will agree that healthcare, you know, there should be more funding, or there should be more. They should look more into healthcare because the system is at the brink of collapse. Like it's caring. So I think both sides will agree to that the healthcare needs serious, you know, utmost attention. It doesn't matter whether you are UCP or NDP. This is I can't stress it well enough. So they should find a way to agree that, oh, we should agree over this, because the demographics is increasing. The more people come to this province, the more population, you know, 10, 15 years ago, the population of Abera it's not like, it's grown up. Now we are 4 point something million people. And you are letting go of doctors, you are letting go of healthcare workers.
Yeah, in my personal case, like
so that's dangerous. That's scary.
It's reckless.
Yeah, so it's scary to me.
I just want to make a case. You know what happened in my own situation? Like I had to wait for a doctor for 3 weeks to get an appointment with my own family doctor, and I don't think any Albertan should have to wait with a serious health condition for 3 weeks to see a family doctor. It doesn't make any sense to have free health care and have no help to me if, you know, I'm not able to meet my family doctor. So to me, that is really a sad situation we are in. Yeah. And so, as you said, IZ, a big overhaul of our system is very necessary on how can we efficiently reach healthcare to the people who are desperately in need of it, and not have them wait 8-9 hours in an emergency room to get healthcare. And so, like, moving on to Greg, is there like some, you know, like there's lots of Scandinavian countries with the same kind of systems that we have, but they have much more efficient processes and systems in place. Do you think there's something we can mimic?
Oh, there are lots of countries like interested in terms of the healthcare situation. Yeah, I mean, you know, I lived in Japan for 10 years. Amazing system of healthcare, efficient beyond belief, right? You know, Europe is known, like Sweden and the Scandinavian countries are known for having fantastic healthcare. Cuba is known for having fantastic. Cuba healthcare system is so good that they send doctors to to Louisiana when they had the big hurricane, a decade ago that ravaged Louisiana. Cuba sent medical professionals to the
Wow.
U.S. to help them, right? So there are lots of models that are out there that can be looked at and benchmark, but both parties need to sit down and understand that not all conservative ideas are bad and not all liberal ideas are bad, versus
Yeah.
not all are good on both sides, and we work together to find the good and create a system that works. It's not going to be perfect, but it's got to be efficient.
And yeah, there has been a major shift with COVID, right? The whole system was like overweighted. There was no space anywhere for people to get help, and we were all struggling. And I think the whole world was struggling. We've moved past that. But what are the things, like it's like a PTSD. Like all of us have PTSD now from that
Dark
time.
ages.
And so, what are the things that we really fear? That my husband tells me, I just pray that we don't get so sick that we have to depend on the system. Which is sad.
You shouldn't you like in the US, you shouldn't like your healthcare shouldn't be dependent on how much you have
Mhm.
or
Yeah.
how good, how well positioned you are. It should be a basic universal package that every Albertans should have access to. I mean, Alberta is the business capital, the nerve center of this confederation. So it's just a matter of government, politicians, sitting down together, having an agreement. Okay, this is where we want to go. Not 6 months to election,
Mm.
3 months to elections. You see them start back and forth argument. Oh, you cut off some budget. You did that. You did this. No, we are sick and tired of those kind of games. Politicians must sit down, agree, and work towards things that are really, 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 really important to the people. I can't stress healthcare enough. I can't stress education more enough. Jobs creation, enabling environment. I can't stress those things enough. These are the things that are really, 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 whether you are conservative, you are liberal, these are the things that matters, right? They use religion, they use LGBTQ issues in separating the people, right? Those are not the things that they should just focus on what matters most to the people. People are going through a lot. People, when they're sick, they can't see a doctor. You have to wait. Like, you have to pray to God. Oh, I shouldn't get sick. Oh, I shouldn't be sick. No, no, come on. Like, you praying to God. Oh, I shouldn't get sick for me to see a doctor. You are praying. So no, it's that bad. So healthcare, I can't stress that well enough. It should be whoever forms the government, they should work more to make sure that there's significant improvement, so that people can have access, to healthcare. Because if you take away healthcare, you take away healthcare, what's the incentive in living in this province? Why will people want to come to this place? What are the incentives? What is the trade-off? Why will I want to come? Why will people want to move to Alberta when there's crisis in the healthcare department? So for me personally, healthcare tops is number one for me, because a good workforce, a healthy workforce is a more productive workforce. If your people are sick, they are not well, they cannot produce anything. Economy is nothing without a healthy workforce. It goes hand in hand.
Yeah.
So I can't
Now,
stress healthcare well enough.
that's true. I want to just draw your attention to what RA has been keeping on putting up.
Mhm.
He says that AHS is the problem with healthcare. Alberta is one of the highest spenders per capita on healthcare among all the provinces, and our outcomes are not reflecting how much we spend on healthcare. And he goes on to say that NDP is anti-business, and their policies leads to more debt, more taxes, and businesses are fleeing to places like Florida and Texas. The reason NDP thrives in Edmonton is because the bulk of them are government workers. Any answer to this?
That's not
So,
true.
wow. NDP's anti-business. Wow. So
I think they're cutting down
asking,
small business tax, right?
yeah,
Am I right?
asking corporations, big corporations, to pay their fair share of taxes, multi-billion-dollar corporations, is anti-business. Is that what I'm understanding here? When the UPC talks about tax cuts, just RA, just so you understand, they're not talking about you. They do not mean you.
Right.
You don't, unless you're a billionaire or multimillionaire. Those tax
You can
breaks,
sponsor.
yeah, those tax breaks will never see your personal bank book in your lifetime. Let's just be clear on that. Trickle down economics to say that if
Doesn't
you give
work.
them, it doesn't work. It doesn't exist. You know what these corporations do? They buy their own stocks back and then brag about it in investors' meetings. Right? So if you think that the NDP's anti-business because they want to, you know, make sure that there's enough taxation so they can support social services, then you're welcome to think that. You're welcome to believe that. Now, you can definitely question some of these things. Like, for example, I question the carbon tax all the time because I've never heard a rational explanation as to where that money goes. Right? Those are fair questions. Right? But to suggest that, um, the NDP's anti-business, that's just not true.
Okay, hi Mary. Could I just jump in to say just to give an expression to what we're looking at here? So, this is the on sensational Alberta elections website. And I'm looking at here on this tab is the Alberta NDP. Just so you see, I'm going to scroll up Alberta NDP right there. And on this tab, UCP. So, these are the two tabs we really need. All right. So, let's go to the battleground, Edmonton City Center. You can tell already out of eight out of 32 ridings have been called in, and Alberta NDP is winning. Castle Down, Alberta NDP has a small lead there for about 100 or so votes. Edmonton Beverly Clearview, just a slight lead there actually, but it's a lead not nevertheless. In Edmonton Decor, you can see 774. UCP is at 630. Out of 4 out of 16 ridings. Leslie, the Alberta NDP has such a huge wide margin right now. In Glenora, it's double. Alberta NDP is leading there easily. In Edmonton Gold Bar, Alberta NDP is leading. In Edmonton Norwood, they're leading. Edmonton Manning. So you can see the figures are very favorable in Edmonton to Alberta NDP. Take a look at Rutherford, Edmonton, Rutherford, Mary, and I believe this is your riding 1,000.
Yeah, that's my riding, Edmonton Rutherford.
Yes, so
Yes, that's mine too.
it's looking like
I
Joe.
see. I think we're neighbors.
Yes, it's going to win because we're nearly at half. Once we, oh God, okay, they're about to update it. Okay, we're going to get an update now. I think Rutherford is going to be called for Jody. Admitting South is going to be called for Rhiannon. Admitting Southwest, Nathan Eep is having about 100 votes. Is leading there in Edmonton Southwest, and Strathcona obviously is Miss Rachel Notley's riding. She's leading there very healthily. Ben Akwe is back. You're a numbers man, you're a lecturer. What do you make? What are you hearing? Has election been called already for the UCP, or everyone is still waiting?
Hey, you guys, it's good to be back with you, and I see you're going strong. Well, as we saw at the time I was leaving, these are the results are coming in quite slowly, and perhaps slower than most people anticipated. At the moment, at this rate, we have not had any major shocks yet, and therefore, I mean, relatively safe seats are what are being called right now. The leaders of the parties, very safe seats, and I think the fun is being delayed until further late into the night, and good things, they say, come to those who are able to wait.
Uh, oh, so what do you think? When do you think this will get all finalized? What?
Well, I don't think many of us anticipated how slow the results will come in, and therefore, my hope is that there will be a big dump very soon. But it's going to be a nice long night, and there are going to be very sleepy people in the office tomorrow morning for sure. But hey, this is the cost of getting it right, and I'm sure all of us would agree getting it right is more important than getting it first.
I
Okay,
don't know how many of you saw Ari's question reflected down our screen. He was saying that Daniel Smith has promised 60% tax cut for the first tax cut for the first 60K of our personal incomes.
Yeah, and I
Well,
remember when I was in high school, student government and student council elections would make all kinds of promises as well.
So you
well, I
don't believe
mean,
what
it's
it looks like.
I mean, the record is
Uh,
you can promise anything you like. We were
uh,
promised
uh, election,
a
election,
sovereignty bill, right? And look
yeah,
what we ended up with. So I mean, come on now.
election, election cycles like this, politicians says well anything they want you to hear. They
Yeah,
say anything just to get votes. That is the reality. So
It's funny.
How will this transform, into reality at the end of the election? I hope politicians, the things they say, like during campaigns, at the end of the day, they are held accountable for those things.
mm,
Yeah,
I want to hold Ari a bit
you have to
responsible
live
here.
up with those things you promise. They cannot be, oh, I will do this, I will do that, I will do this. At the end of the day, after election, we go back to the status quo. No, no.
Let
Politicians
me
are
hold Ari
supposed to.
accountable a bit here. Ari also said, don't focus on what somebody says, focus on what they do. But here he is, che- conveniently cherry picking campaign headlines that he likes. Ari,
Okay.
come on, man. Oh, come on, person, make your mind up. Should we go with what people say or what they have done? You can't have it both ways. Anyway, it's lovely to be back to see you folks, and let's see how the night proceeds.
Yeah, it's a very heavy night for sure. Um, and as Alberta is turning blue and Edmonton is turning more and more orange, how do you think our NDP leaders will work under this kind of blue leadership? Oh, Ari has something more to say. She will get kicked out like Jason Kenney if she
Well, you
doesn't
go
live up
ahead
to
and
her
ask your
promise.
question, and we can deal with Ari later.
Okay. So yeah, my question is like, how do you see this, the big UCP umbrella working with our NDP leaders in Edmonton? Because I think Edmonton is coming out again very orange.
well, I mean, the history tells us that, or recent history tells us that it doesn't quite work the way it
Well,
should. You know, Jason Kenney when he got elected, the first thing he did was cut funding to a bunch of programs that were meant to provide all kinds of jobs to Edmonton, right? Because Edmonton's an NDP territory and it's not Calgary, right?
He literally punished Edmonton for being NDP.
Yeah,
Basically.
the reason you cut AHS jobs is, as RA had pointed out earlier, a lot of those people live in Edmonton, right? So, if recent history has anything to say, I don't expect it to change. I think it will only change when we get a better quality of politician on both sides.
Okay. Well, that doesn't bode too well. I hope that something changes at the top. Ben, do you have you want to put some of your 2 cents into this?
Well, I mean, I think the question has been handled well, and I'll take the next one.
Okay. All right. So, besides, of course, like our economy needs a revamp. We need more jobs. Our education needs to be worked at. Healthcare. We've spoken about these topics. Is there anything we are missing at this point that really needs attention?
Can I come in?
Yes, please.
Can I come in? Okay. We've hammered healthcare. We've hammered education. We've hammered job creation. But one thing that is very important, like I feel is very important, is immigration. So immigration. So in this province, for instance, the migrating, if you want to immigrate to this our province, the procedure or the process is in secrecy. It's not open. It's not clear. The pathway is not clear. Unlike province like Saskatchewan, Manitoba, right? The pathway, the process coming here is straightforward, clean, blue and black. But in Alberta, it's not, like, it's in secrecy. I don't understand the process. I think I think the government should also look into that, because we need to attract, the best, professionals, right? The best doctors, the best engineers, the best, But when the process for them to migrate here isn't clear, it becomes a challenge. It becomes a problem, because we need those talents here in this province. But it's something Kelechi, when I was very excited, even though I never vote for conservative. When Kelechi was made immigration minister, I was excited that we'll have some changes, some upgrades, but nothing really happened before it was changed. The portfolio was changed. I think that is something whoever forms the next government should also maybe look into, and make it more transparent, make it more like open, so that people understand how it works. Not like a secret kind of a thing. It should be transparent, like.
Yeah, foreign professionals have to jump so many hoops to get
It's too
legitimatized.
it's too difficult. Yeah, if you're a doctor, you want to come in here. Oh man.
For 9 years, I've seen a doctor trying to get his legitimacy to practice, which is just pathetic. Like 9 years.
Yeah, and we short of doctors. We have shortage of doctors yet.
Well, you have to remember that is a holdout or a legacy of one Jason Kenney, right? When Jason Kenney was Immigration Minister of Canada, he gutted the immigration system. I was a casualty that was wrapped up in that. Took me 10 years. to get right because
Yeah.
my paperwork got tied up in immigrant. And I'll tell you how bad it was. I was applying through, of course, Toronto. 'Cause that's why I went to school there and everything. I was trying to get my status, and I got to the point where I called in immigration because we had phone numbers. I had a personal person in Immigration Canada, and he said to me, he's like, Greg, here's the situation. From Windsor, Ontario, to downtown Toronto, there are two officers with all applications. From Toronto going east all the way to Kingston, there is one. From Toronto going north up to Barrie, we have one person. So the volume of people that are applying to move to Toronto, and you have 5 people that each have 6 weeks holiday time per year working on cases. Jason Kenney brought that same foolishness to the province. Of course, that's a legacy of the holdout. Got the system, very few people to process it. You can't call us racist because we didn't tell you can't come here. We just slowed down the process.
How do you see this change? Like, what kind of strategies can be put in place, or
Can I come in? Can I come in? I would like to
please
respond.
go ahead.
The unnecessary bureaucracy. There are a lot of qualified doctors who have their degrees, who have their qualifications, but not in Canada, right? So the process of accreditation takes too much. It takes too long a time that it's so frustrating. There's like you see medical doctor driving with no disrespect to Uber riders. You see medical doctors, driving cab, doing all kinds of surviving job just to live by. When we even have shortage of doctors, this shouldn't be. It should be streamlined that, in such a way that maximum of say 1 year, you get it sorted, then you start working. If you're a doctor, for instance, you're a foreign trained doctor, makes it, easier for people to convert their degree so that they can actually, live a meaningful life here in Canada. Because
So what they say is,
you see
sorry,
people, you
easy
see,
to butt in, but I just have to make this point. What they say is it's a very critical care, occupation, which is like so critical. A small miss can really take a life, right? So that's why they have all these hoops to jump. And if they miss a hoop, maybe some people will lose their life. So
I understand that. I understand that. But a country like the UK, the United Kingdom, is easier. Like the NHS is renowned, it's known, but it's easier, it's faster. Why should Canada takes like 5 years, 10 years to do that? It's too long. We have shortage of doctors in this country. They should find a way of making it like at least shorter. It's too long. It's too long a time. The wait is too long. It's not
Bro,
like we have enough. We have too much doctor. We need more doctors in this place. So they should
bro,
find a way to reduce the red tapes. Like the red tapes, the bureaucracy. It's just is. I understand that. I understand that the standard has to be top notch. I get it, but 10 years, no.
yeah, I totally agree, and I totally second that. And I feel that there has to be some fast track method in which we can resolve this issue, because this is right now it's weighing down on our healthcare system so badly. Again, we have a question from RA. We have a serious housing problem nationally, and I really feel for currently new and future new immigrants that will be coming in. Rents and mortgages are shooting up at a crazy rate, especially in Toronto and Vancouver. Where is he writing from? This is crazy. We are least interested in BC. So what I wanted to know is, our mortgages are really going up, and lots of people are having to lose their homes. There are foreclosures. There's so much stuff happening, and it's very sad to see people lose their homes. What do you think provincially can be done in this situation?
You mean the question of home ownership and rent?
Yeah.
I mean, it comes back down to, is there somebody in government willing to challenge um, the real estate people, and challenge them to not undertake practices to artificially inflate the cost of homes, right? Um, there's I'll give you a classic example. One of the things that's happening in real estate is there are a lot of equity companies that are buying up homes, inflating the price so they can turn them around and rent them at insane rates, right?
Mm-hmm.
We also have, already mentioned Toronto. I'll give you an example of one thing that happened when I lived in Markham Stouffville. They built a new development on the corner of Kennedy Road and 16th Avenue. And in secret, the development company went and sold half the homes to buyers in China.
Oh,
Now, what
wow.
happens is in Asia, my experience living in Japan, homes do not have the same size and scope in Asia as they do here. And so when you go to a place like Korea, Japan, China, and you say, hey, look, I have a 3, 4 bedroom, this many thousands of square feet with a backyard, they're quick to inflate the price and pay whatever you ask them. And so then that trickles down to us as Canadian consumers trying to also purchase homes because now the prices are inflated. So unless the city, the government at different levels is going to step in and say, hey, no, you can't do that, the situation is only going to get worse.
So you're saying that there should be some legislation for the Real Estate Council of Alberta?
There has to be because they've proven that without legislation, they're just going to do whatever the free market tells them they can do. It's all about making money.
Yeah, but currently the mortgage interest rates have gone up, right? So that's a huge jump in how much homeowners are paying to the banks every month.
Yeah, and I'm not an expert on how the banks choose to set those rates. All I know is every quarter, all the banks report about how many hundreds of millions of dollars in profit they've made, and I personally have yet to benefit from any of that.
Very true. It looks like by the end of this year, things will cool off a bit, but right now it's super hot and it's not coming down anytime in 2023. So, so people who are really struggling to keep up their mortgages, some of them are going to have to let their homes go, which is a sad situation we are in right now.
Yeah. Guarantee the banks don't care.
Ben, would you like to chip in here?
No, particularly. What's the question?
The question is that is there something the government can do, whichever government is coming in, to legislate or do something which avoids prices going through the roof?
I mean, I listened to a piece by, I think there's a group, and what they do is they build small homes, small portable homes, and those are relatively inexpensive. And those kinds of schemes will help people get on the ladder and have a place to rest their head and raise their families. So those kinds of things, I think, will be helpful. But obviously, there's a huge lobby campaign. Nobody, I shouldn't say nobody, but neighborhoods that are considered wealthy do not want cheap homes next to them because they reduce the value. And nobody wants um, condensed housing right next to their freshly expensive house and those kinds of things. And, we are concerned about urban creep. the environment, and so on and so forth. It's a slightly complex issue. We also have to consider homelessness. And then, where's all that money gonna come from when you have so many competing needs as well? So it's a complex issue, and I know you're gonna accuse me of a politically correct answer, but I like answers that are realistic instead of just saying this is a nice, easy fix. I mean, some
Ben
things
is
are easy
already
to
taking
do.
anticipatory bail. I like it.
Well, some things are easy fixes. Other thing, and yeah, you can just say, "Why go do this?" But then the truth is, some of those go do this are completely unrealistic. They sound nice, but they are unrealistic. Which is why, if we only say those nice things, nothing gets done. This is, complex. But I've seen areas where they've tried these small homes, and those small homes made from materials that can be easily put together. There are growing communities of small homes. They are relatively inexpensive. Of course, they don't come with a lot of space around them, but they give you a place to lay your head and to raise your family. And I think, and there are going to be very few big companies buying those small homes so they could rent them. That's not where their focus is. Their focus is on the higher end homes and so on. But I think those small homes could be an avenue to help a lot of people get on the ladder.
Yeah, that's a really innovative idea, and I hope like we can have communities where those things are not considered, uh, you know, really a bad place to live and stuff like that. Because generally, what happens is when these low income housing areas develop, they become very crime prone, and they become difficult to live in for families. So, what do you
Let's
what?
be careful here about spreading some stereotypes. I mean, crime is its own thing. Let's be careful about making that connection. I am wary of that because it has been used to stigmatize certain communities in the past. There's so much that goes into that. So I'm just cautioning
Oh,
a bit of
okay,
caution.
okay. Let's just look at where we are now in admitting the core. 8 out of 19 polls are reporting that Mr. Haji here has the lead in admitting the core. I suppose, Greg, what we need to do here is to wait till it gets to 9 or 10, then we know he's won it. But then look at the margin between him and Saeed Ahmed. That's quite difficult to catch up on right now.
It's a big jump. It's a
It's
big
a big
gap.
jump. It is a huge jump. Okay, so this is admitting the call. We have Sharif Haji leading in a Leslie Rod Loyola. That was a safe. Okay, so Global is saying he's been elected. 9 out of 16 polls are reporting that in admitting a Leslie Rod Loyola, the incumbent, is returning. Not bad. Okay. Let's go to Glenora. Okay. Sarah Hoffman. I think she's coming in. I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong. Is this the third time she's winning or the fourth time? Does anyone know?
I
Okay.
don't know.
Okay. So this is Sarah Hoffman. In any case, she has re-won her seat. Admitting Glenora is Alberta NDP. Admitting gold bar is for Marlene Schmidt. Okay. All right, Miss Janice Irwin is being called for her. Not bad, 71%. That's brilliant. Admitting Manning. Heather Sweet has won the election. It's not been called yet, but our temples reporting that's probably what is going to happen. Okay, so this is putting us out of our misery. We cannot call Edmonton McClung yet. At some point this evening, Daniel Akenen, he contested with Ben. You remember him, didn't you? He's teamed up with the UCP here, and it's not looking like a brilliant night for Daniel. Edmonton Meadows, let's take a look. Okay, Edmonton Global News is projecting that he's won Edmonton Meadows. Let's take a look at Millwoods. This is where I think I leave Christina Gray. They're
Mm.
not calling it just yet. All right, that's where we are. Edmonton Northwest with David Egan. His establishment. This is a safe riding. It's most likely he's gonna win this. And look at the gap between him and Ali Seymour. Let's go to Riverview. He's been called for Laurie Sigurdsson. It's brilliant. Rutherford. So we have a new guest, Yolene. Just 1 second, Yolene. We're going to introduce you in a minute. I'm going to add you to the stream and we'll do your introduction. We're just, oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Jody Callagher Stonehouse admitting Rutherford as one, she's been elected as the MLA.
Yay!
All right, that should make
Very nice.
Mary voted.
That's my riding. That's my riding.
Okay, well, I said you got MLA Jody Callagher. Has been called in our favor.
Yay! Yay!
Calm down. Look at that gap, 58% between her and Lane Larson. There's no
Eh,
way
eh,
Lane's
eh,
gonna
eh,
catch him.
eh, eh.
All right, it's getting more and more interesting. And Jordan is with the Green Party. He got 6% of the vote. Edmonton South. All right, so we're at 7 out of the 20 polls reporting. And Miss Rhiannon Hoyle is at 60% of the vote. Edmonton Global News is not calling this yet. I don't suppose we can or we should. But take a look at that gap, 60 to 37.9%. That is a huge gap.
It's a lot of ground.
Another grand.
So let's go to the Battle West, the battleground
So
of
there's
Edmonton.
20 seats over there. I mean, there's a lot more to count. So
Oh, yeah, okay, but we have Nathan Eap in the lead there at 61%. 3 out of 18 polls are reporting. So it's going to be a long night for Mr. Madhu. But this is where we are at Edmonton Southwest. Strathcona is Miss Rachel Notley. She's just been re-elected as the MLA for Edmonton Strathcona. And it goes on and on. I will just break it so we can introduce our newest panelist, Yolene Naidu. We know she's NDP. Yolene, your introduction.
I don't know. Basically, I'm. My name is Yolene. I've lived in Edmonton for close to 20 years, and I love my community. And I've been actively involved in many things, and I think the biggest thing that I'm really actively involved is in bringing safety back into our community, bringing safety back to the kids, and actually having gangs being removed out of Edmonton. Yeah. Which is a big problem,
thank you so much, Yolene, for joining us. It's a pleasure to have you.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. So, which riding do you belong to, Yolene?
I'm not sure which one. It's the south side, so basically Chappelle.
So I think it's the Ellerslie riding, right?
No, it's where Joseph is.
Edmund. Now, Joseph is on the other side. I think if you're talking about Chappelle, you're talking about Edmonton South.
Edmonton South.
Southwest. Is it
Edmonton
Southwest?
Southwest.
No,
That's
South.
where Rhiannon and
South.
Joseph
Edmonton
are.
South. Yeah.
Yeah.
Rhiannon and Joseph, yeah.
But wait, you went to vote. You would have been told anyway.
Sorry. Yeah, it is Edmonton South. Sorry, it was just a long day and I just got home. Yeah, it's Edmonton
Yolene,
South.
did you vote?
I did.
Okay. Mary, did you?
Of course. What do you think?
I was just checking. Greg, did you vote?
Yeah, last week.
All right. Nice.
He was an eager beaver.
Well, no, I'm actually in Prince George right now.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
on an editorial trip, so I'm a little tired, but hanging here for a little bit longer.
Show off.
So how late is it out there?
Prince George, we're an hour behind, so it's 9:30 right now. But we spent the day fishing, hiking, doing a whole bunch of different things. So
I told you he was gonna show off.
Yolene, what were the things that you saw as stark in this campaign, and what are the things you think we are now fighting for?
Well, I kind of entered. I mean, I was never ever for politics my whole life. I always thought it was like, it was some big person's job to get done. And when I saw what was happening in Edmonton, I realized that we don't have leadership in Edmonton, and that is why our communities are split, and our communities confused about a lot of things, and our communities are not getting what they're actually asking for. So that's when I kind of got involved in a little bit of politics, and a lot of people who helped me was from the UCP, trying to get stuff done. So I've just worked with them and just got to know a little bit of what's happening. But at the end of the day, as I said, is we need leaders in Edmonton that can stand up and be the voice of the people, not just be elected and then we don't see them, and we do need to have leaders that are available to the public, because I've called off certain officers and you don't get responses, or they tell you they can't handle it. And I'm hoping that we have leaders that can understand what we're going through, can give us the time, can dedicate their position to the people and be available at all times, because we need a lot of changes, especially in Edmonton. And we need strong people to stand up and say, we're standing up to have changes. And when I look at the election, I think there was a lot that happened. There was a re-election with UCP there, then now was the big election, and I'm just hoping that unity can come out of this, and people's voices can be heard, and taken seriously. So I'm not sure what's in store for Edmonton right now.
So which side, obviously you're leaning towards UCP, and maybe you're looking for some interesting priorities that the government will put. So what are those priorities that you think are important for Alberta?
I think the biggest thing, being in the community so much, is safety. And, not a lot of people talk about safety, but we actually have a safety issue where kids not feel safe at school. People are not feeling safe at work. And, the reason why I guess it's not been spoken a lot is because it's not in the news of what's happening in the public. So I think the biggest thing Alberta needs right now is safety, because jobs are coming. They seem to have a system for jobs and making sure that everybody has a job, which I think is absolutely important. But it's no use having a job and having a home if there's no safety, because we do not have that safety right now.
Why do you say that? Is there something that makes you think that Alberta is unsafe?
Well, from working the last 5 years in the community, we actually have a huge gang human trafficking problem. And our cities are being controlled by it. So although we have, in Edmonton, we have now, a new police chief is amazing. Everyone's trying to get changes. People are talking. But the leaders are not all coming together. Like, the police is trying to do something. Like, I feel like all the groups are trying to do things on their own, but people are not actually uniting to say, we need to bring safety back. I think Daniela made a statement a couple of weeks ago, where she allowed about 100 policemen to start patrolling the streets. And I think that really needs to be addressed, because over here we have a lot of immigrants in Canada, and I find like both parents are working, and kids are left to internet. So there's a lot of internet bullying that's happening. There's a lot of blackmailing that's happening through internet. and which is also causing and affecting families. So I think that's a really important issue that now all elected leaders need to talk about and to be united in. And I know people think, oh, and Canada doesn't have gangs. Canada does not rule like that, but it actually is. So I think that's a really important topic that we need to actually talk about. And and we also need a system, because people now are mentioning leaders that are involved in these, but we don't have a system to actually go and take these people and say, okay, someone's mentioned your name, you're part of this, you're part of a gang, you're a leader in the community, you're not doing your job, you actually using your position for other personal priorities instead of the public priorities. So I think now with our new government, I think the priority should definitely be in changing our justice system to make it just, so it brings about justice, so it brings justice back into the community. And I know they are working on that, and I don't know what the results are going to be finally. But I did speak to Daniela, actually personally, and I do know her heart is for getting safety back. So me as a person, and that's my priority, I'm glad that that's what she stands for. So I'm hoping that all the leaders, because we do need all the leaders who are elected. It doesn't matter if you're from the NDP, if you're elected, or you're from the Green Party who's elected, or you're from the Liberal Party that's elected. We all need to come together and realize that we are one province, we are one people, and we are one community, and we all have one thing in common, is that we all want to be happy, and we all want to prosper in this province, especially many being immigrants. So we all need to unite and say, okay, let's be there for each other, let's stand up for each other. And I think once we get that in place, our justice system in place, and we get the safety back in place, I think everything else will grow and prosper in a better way. But that's my perspective on the public.
I'm sorry. I can't help myself here, Yelene. And you feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, right? But you do, from my perspective, from the chair that I sit in. Hold on one second. Someone's at my door here. I'll be right back.
Okay. Thanks, Yolene, for your perspective. I just wanted to hand over the mic to IZ and then to Ben about what do you think about the safety parameters within Edmonton?
Ben, you want to take that first?
Well, I mean, there are some places that have a lot more incidents than.
Sorry, I think Indra is coming in with the next. Oh, okay, he's gone. Please go ahead.
There are some places that have a lot of underlying issues which lead to safety becoming an issue. But I'm very wary of these kind of so-called quick fixes, because what then happens is some particular communities and people get profiled, get targeted, which makes bad situations worse. Offering after-school activities for a lot of kids will help reduce a lot of instances where trouble arises. Offering support to people who struggle, making sure students, young people who need help, get help at school, not just throw them out. And it's a much deeper issue than a simple fix of throw more, go for a quick fix, target some particular people, because that really makes things worse. And historically, the results will show that they don't work and they don't last long. So this is a rather complicated issue, which involves housing, involves employment, involves community support.
Okay, guys, sorry, breaking news. Global News projected 22 minutes ago that Jody Calleho, have we said this, has won Edmonton Rutherford. Rutherford. Sorry.
Woohoo.
Interesting. So in my writing, it's an NDP.
It looks like NDP is leading in everyone in Edmonton. I was just watching the news now.
Mm-hmm. But Alberta is predominantly blue so far.
Yeah.
Except for Edmonton.
Yes.
I can just quickly go through the ridings that in Edmonton that have been called for Alberta NDP. Edmonton Highland with Janice Irwin, David Shepherd, Rachel Notley. These we already know. Sarah Hoffman, Jasville Dior, Laurie Sigurdsson. I don't know. Marie Reynolds in Albert is now new. Is Alberta NDP Marie Reynolds. Rod Loyola. We're waiting for them to declare Rhiannon Hoyle to call it for Rhiannon. Daniel Smith has been declared the leader, the winner. She has been declared victorious in Brooks Medicine Hat. Um, mm, it's an interesting night, no doubt. We're still waiting for Edmonton South and Edmonton Southwest to be called.
Mm-hmm. Mike, extending my question a little bit, isn't like the justice system unfairly represented by the BIPOC communities, and how do you think the government can change this situation?
So before my door knocked there, Ben actually, in a more politically correct way, articulated what I was going to say. I don't say things quite as nicely as Ben, but let's be real. When politicians talk about safety in Alberta, they're 100% talking about the fact that there are more immigrants in this province, and it's a problem for them. Let's just keep it 100.
Wow.
Right? Let's keep it 100 where it is. And you talk about how to address things. The school to prison pipeline is a real thing in this province, right?
Yeah.
How are you going to address safety if you continually perpetuate the school to prison pipeline, right? If you don't cut that off, you're going to continue having problems. As Ben said, what about issues of housing, job creation, right? After school programs, showing people different paths. But no, it's not a quick fix. There's a multitude of different things that have to happen for the so-called safety issues to be resolved and settled. It's not a let's sit down and debate one thing. Yes, Ben.
Let me give you a small scenario. Mary, you're an immigrant parent. You come over here. You're struggling to get jobs. So you can't live in certain places. And when you get jobs, because you're being paid very little, you end up having to do multiple jobs. That means parents can barely be at home to support kids like other parents and other families where the one job is sufficient for them. Right? And when you come from a culture where the
100%.
whole community comes together to help raise a kid, and you find yourself in an environment where it's just down to you two, or maybe just you begin to experience some challenges many other people do not experience. You need different kind of supports to get to some outcomes that other people don't require those supports for. And this is, it's not fun because it's not a nice, easy solution because it's a complex issue. So when you are an immigrant family working multiple times because that employer doesn't give you enough hours, because that employer can call you at a 2 hours notice and you have to show up, or else you like it is a lot more complicated. And you know, anytime we say, oh, let's have some support, it's almost like, wow, you don't need any support. Pull yourself by your bootstraps.
Mm.
The funny thing is, when you look at those people who claim to have pulled themselves by their bootstraps, you discover they don't even know how to tie their shoelaces.
Yeah.
I mean, so let's be careful of looking for nice, easy solutions because they will not stand the test of time. And I know this is not extremely attractive to say, but it requires a lot of hard work and looking at the problem intensely. It's not an easy fix.
And I agree with you on that. And I think, we have a lot of nonprofits in Edmonton. And what I also notice is there's raising a lot of money to send money out of Canada, out of Edmonton, to support people out of the country. And I turned to myself and I said, we have all these nonprofits. Instead of raising all that money or taking part of that money and supporting out of the country, which, is good because I do believe we should support everyone. But let's support our Edmontonians first. We have so many nonprofits. And if all that money starts staying in Edmonton and we start helping our people, then we can take, because right now when I see a lot of ads for nonprofits, when they raising a lot of money or they raising funds, they always show you pictures and they always show you stuff that's happening in other countries. And yet I see a lot that's happening in our own city. And if we start changing the focus to our people, because, I grew up in a community where it's like, before you go out and help the world, let's help your family, support your family, and then go out and help. So I think we do have that support system that the government put in place with nonprofits and stuff, and we need to start working together to start helping our people in Edmonton or in Alberta, to strengthen us. And yes, once we strengthen, then we can definitely help the outsider.
Okay, I'm sorry, Eileen. I got to jump in here on that one as well too. And the reason I'm jumping in is I am a member of a nonprofit here in Edmonton, right? And I can tell you right now that the government gives my association a different playbook than they give all the other white associations that play in the same sandbox as I do, right? The problem with nonprofits, especially within minority communities, is governance. And the province and the federal government do not properly support nonprofits to have effective governance. Instead, they do the reverse to ensure that they cannot effectively govern themselves, right? And so when you want to talk about nonprofit support, you got to go back to the guys writing policy and say, okay, what are you doing to ensure these nonprofits have the proper governance and the proper long-term structure for them to be successful to do the work that they want to do within the communities? Because I can tell you right now, a lot of them do not have that support. And we have a different playbook.
Yeah. And when I look at Edmonton, I look at Little Warriors and I look at the food bank. And I find especially those two ones that, I've seen again and again. I find those, whatever money comes in, goes 100% towards the cause. And I've been tending to support those organizations more. And I feel like that's what a nonprofit should be. Money that comes in 100% should go 100% to the people. But I'm finding a lot of nonprofits, money comes in, fundraising happens, but only a small percentage goes towards the people.
I'd have to disagree with that, honestly. As someone that, like, I'll tell you what nonprofit I represent. I'm the director of marketing for the Western Carnival Development Association. We produce the Carry West Festival every year for the past 40 years. We have a different playbook from Folk Fest, Taste of Edmonton, Heritage Fest, street performers, Fringe, you name it down the line. We are all have been in the city for 40 years. We all have the same metrics up and down the ladder. If I go to Travel Alberta and say, hey, can you guys support us? They say, hey, well, thank you very much. You can go kick rocks. We're going to give our money to all the other people. Right?
So How
they,
do you see? Actually, we have just 10 minutes left, Greg,
Yeah.
so we cannot get into this conversation at this
yeah,
point.
that's okay. But I'm just making the point that when you're talking about these nonprofits in these communities, it's not as simple as saying they take the money and they waste the money. What I'm saying is the powers that be do not help them practice governance and do not give them tools sometimes needed for them to have the structure for success. And so it's unfair to just say they take the money and they send it outside or they waste it. It is not true. It is not that black and white. There are many, many layers to this.
That's very true. And I think we'll have to unpack this another time, because right now we can see as the results coming in, I see Edmonton to be very orange. I don't know what everybody else is seeing.
Yeah, I agree. I see the orange.
Edmonton is orange, period.
What are the things you're happy about and what are the things you're disappointed about? I think that would be the last question for the night.
Well, for me personally, I'm not surprised, to be honest, because this is Alberta, right? It's always been conservative. So it's always been like that. So it's been an interesting ride, you know. I just hope that politicians, they should, the things, the things that matters to people, quality education, healthcare funding, more jobs, affordability, right? Those are the things that should be what they're going there for. This idea of we against them is either you're left or you're right or you're blue or you're orange. No, those things as a people that will not help us. It will not move us further. These politicians needs to find a common ground to work for the ordinary people, the things that matters to Albertans. They have to find a way to, make these things possible instead
Thank
of
you. Thank you,
back
guys.
and back and forth fights, arguments that won't help us.
Totally. Greg, is there last 2 cents that you would like to say about, what you're really happy about and what you're not?
I mean, it's going to sound weird, and T's probably going to laugh when I say this, but I am disappointed and sad to see that Casey is lost. When he won 4 years ago, I said, you know what? Yes, he's conservative, but we have a member of our community in a position of influence. Give the man a chance and let him do his thing.
Yeah.
And he unfortunately completely squandered the opportunity. And it's sad to see him go. There's no other member of our community that's going to have a seat at the table within the UPC party. It's a shame.
Thank you for that. Yeah, it's true. He was in a good position that sadly Albertans didn't enjoy him being there. He didn't really do well in his seat. Ben, is there something that you would like to share with us about what makes you really happy and what makes you sad?
A very few things make me sad, but I'm excited to see a lot of young people get involved volunteering for campaigns. I'm excited to see a lot of diversity in the candidates, especially in winnable seats. I want Albertans to see how this diversity carries when it comes to formulating policies and so on. I want to see the increased harmony between our communities and people and races and visible and invisible differences. I think people forget that at the heart of it, both parties agree on 70-80% of things. And we spend so much time on the 10-15% that we disagree on. And I want to see us invest more of our time on the things that we all agree on. Let's do more of
I
those
agree.
things,
Yeah.
and a small proportion of our time on the things we disagree on. After this election, I want us to do the Canadian thing. We agree on the outcomes, and we work together for common solutions that would help everybody. I don't want to see a U.S. style. I disagree. I didn't lose the election. That kind of thing. That's not who we are. So I want to
So
see.
true.
I want to see we come together and we solve these common problems that we all agree on, and we spend a small amount of time on the small amount of things we disagree on.
Oh my gosh, you're
I
such a
agree.
respectable
Yeah.
leader, man. I think you should stand for the next election, Ben.
I want to thank T and you, Mary. You've done a wicked job, and indeed all of you.
Now,
On the
quickly, I'm
panel.
going to ask Yolene, is there something that you are super happy about, and is there something that you are disappointed in?
Well, I'm always a person who looks to the future, and I do see a bright future ahead of us. And I totally agree with Ben when he says, let's look at the things that unite us. And if we start looking forward and looking at things that unite us, I can see us having a really prosperous, good future in Alberta.
Thank you, Yolene. T, would you like to chip in?
Yes, I want to say a big thank you to all our panelists, Ben, Isaac. I'm grateful. You've been with us since 7 p.m. Who thought we could do this 4 hours grand of streaming? Look, and thank you so much, Yolina and Greg, for being my friends, for just coming through this evening. I think tonight just shows what we can do as Black media. It shows we can keep we can engage in what's going on. We can get involved, and in our own small way, I kind of feel maybe we've made a difference. We've come out and we've spoken our views. I want to say thank you to Mary. I know it's way past your bedtime, Mama. So
Thank you, Mary.
Hey, thanks, Mary. Good job.
Yeah.
What a beautiful panel I got to chat with. I mean, I didn't realize it was 4 hours. And I have to say that I'm rooting for Ben. Next election, I want to see you up there.
There we go.
What do you think, Ben? Do you think?
So everyone subscribe to Ladies Corner Canada, okay? Won't let me be chasing you to subscribe. Mary, are you even subscribed? Isaac, subscribe now. Yolene is already subscribed, I think. I got Ben to subscribe. But we love you all so much. It's 2 minutes to 11. I'm going to play the intro. You all should go to bed. Have a warm cup of tea or something. Spend some time with your loved ones, with your wives and your husbands and the people who matter. Thank you again so much. This was a countdown. I think provincially, the UCP has won, and in Edmonton, we got, the safe seats for the NDP. Actually, we got a lot of seats for the NDP. Till next time, good night. Thank you again so very much. Good night.
night.
Good night.
Ciao.